The following announcement has been paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey guys.
Hello, ladies. Remember me? Let me talk to you, dummies.
It's now time.
It's theater time. TikTok.
It's showtime!
For the longest running wrestling talk show in history.
We are huge. It's gonna be cool.
You're where it's at.
If you're smart like me,
Tune in each and every week.
you better keep listening, or I'll come out of your computer
And turn it on for you.
or else I'm gonna kick your stinking teeth in.
We've been known by a few names.
The needs of the many far outweigh the needs of the few.
The Interactive Interview.
Interactive interview. Oh, yeah.
Interactive interview.
The interactive interview.
Interactive interview.
The interactive interview.
The Blaze.
Blaze 1260 AM. The Blaze.
The Blaze.
Blaze. The Blaze rocks.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive radio.
Interactive Radio. Testify. Interactive Wrestling Radio.
And a lot of other names.
Weekend Warrior of Wrestling. The Pile Driver. The Pile Driver.
3 Count Wrestling.
The Hour Slam.
But it's all one show. The Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter.
The Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter, dude.
The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And your host from day one,
By ignorance or arrogance.
James Walsh.
Wake up, sleepyheads.
I could care less.
It all starts
Oh, tough guy.
Thank you very much.
Rush. Dumbed down.
Get out of my face.
You win! But I'm desperately out of time!
So what you gonna do when Blaze Mania runs wild on you?
now.
The Blaze, 1260 AM, KASC, Tempe, Arizona.
Happy Wednesday to you guys, and welcome to the Wrestling Epicenter on the Blaze, 1260 AM.
It's hump day.
It is hump day. It is the last hump day of the year for...
So everybody listening out there, start humping.
They probably would, man. They're drunk enough? Dude.
I don't know, Chris Ferguson's in the chat room, and he's going crazy. So, hey, Chris, how you doing? And a big shout-out to our chat room at www.wrestlingepicenter.com. Cheap Pops, Cheap Pops.
/chat if you want to go on there, talk some crap.
Chris has been crazy for like half an hour in there already.
Well, that's what Chris does. He's just crazy in general.
I actually brought in my reading glasses just so during the breaks I could read what the hell they're saying.
Oh, really? You mean your binoculars?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
These things are huge, man. They're like...
You could do curls with them.
I was about to one day, so I'm the gym. You get to see this. Actually, you know, Benya constantly wears random wrestling memorabilia, and this takes
I've topped everything.
I think you've topped everything.
He has slipped past the Minuteman, and he's wearing a Mexican wrestling mask, Rey Mysterio's mask, as a matter of fact.
Luchador.
Green with white and red trim.
And Mr. Benya, how much did that cost you?
This pretty penny is an authentic. It cost me $20.
Ooh.
Here, since we are so close to the border where you can get these things a lot cheaper for the
Take our
authentic.
jobs.
Costs what, 100, 200 here in the States?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Talk about raising the price on that.
Well, if I had gone to Canada, I could have gotten a Canadian wrestling mask. I vowed to wear the mask for the entire 2 hours.
What's a Canadian wrestling mask?
Yeah, what is that? Is that just a maple leaf on someone's face?
Yes.
Is that a mask made out of bacon?
Actually, we're thinking about Canadian bacon. It's not really from Canada. It's
That
the
wouldn't be
northern.
much of a mask.
It's the northern part of the pig.
Mm.
A little weird, random.
If you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself?
If I was a pig, hell yeah.
Is this a real conversation?
It is a real
Are you
conversation.
people this dumb?
No, we're not high, if that's what you're asking.
Ooh.
So this is our last show of the year. Or
Wait.
this, huh?
I have a question for
You
you.
have a question. What's your answer?
Well, tonight,
What?
since we went through very proper intros,
Yes.
tonight I hail from Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Ah, bam, bam.
Bam, bam.
Fireburn! Fireburn!
Actually, Bam Bam knows what it's like to play with real fire.
Yes, Bam Bam gained a lot of respect from me. I grew up in New Jersey, for those who don't know, and Bam Bam actually was a local celebrity because during the Meadowlands fires, he actually ran into the brush and saved a couple kids that were caught in the mix, and he ended up getting burned over like 80% of his body. So
God, that is irony to the max.
yes, and a little note to Alanis Morissette: fly in your Chardonnay, unfortunate, not ironic. Rain on your wedding day, unfortunate, Not ironic.
Exactly.
Whatever.
You've had like a
3 minutes of somebody naming things that are ironic, but they're not one was.
Maybe
Man.
that was the point of the song, that she was naming things that were ironic, but they weren't ironic. How ironic is that?
Pwned.
Yes.
I saw that coming from my way. So tonight, guys, we're debating the status of pro wrestling since it is the last show of the year. And
Yes, I think we might be able to do this. I don't know what we're going to do during the summer. I think we're going to do an hour.
Like an hour, yeah. Because, an hour and a half, 2 hours is a long time, man.
That mask was itchy.
Oh, yeah.
I had to take that thing off. I couldn't do it.
Perhaps if you had a haircut.
That would really help.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like you look like Steve Buscemi in Wedding Singer.
I've got the pompadour going right now. So
Yeah, it's the very poofy.
it's nice.
I guess it is kind of nice, but. So,
If you'd like to see a picture of me wearing a Rey Mysterio mask, it's time for a cheap plug. Visit my website, www.myspace.com/thebenya. Not hard to remember. And add me as a friend, where you can read about my random goings-on and be entertained at the same time. It's a good time had by all.
Are you going to be a character this summer?
We're hoping so. Right now I'm serving churros to the main public, so
Oh, I love churros.
I hate them.
ooh.
Actually, with my total blatant disregard for what goes into making a funnel cake, by the way, in case you like funnel cakes, never talk to me because I will tell you everything I know about the secret life.
Funnel cakes?
I was going to
How
fight with my
terribly
girlfriend about funnel
disgusting they
cakes.
They're awful. They're not awful. They're good food, but if you knew what I know, you would never eat them again.
It's basically a giant fried piece of garbage.
Okay.
And it literally is a piece of garbage with the amount of blood, sweat, tears, hair,
Man
toenails, paper that goes in there.
Man juice.
And one could be yours at a local fair for $89.95.
I'd rather go buy a deep-fried Schwinkie. At least I know what I'm getting.
Oh,
there.
yeah. It's called the heart attack and the little tiny thing. What was that in Ghostbusters?
awesome.
Nuclear explosion. Twinkies would survive. Something like that. They had a cool-
Twinkies will survive.
They
in
will
that
survive in that case.
I missed the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, we all do. He was a good
case. I
guy.
thought of something that
We
you've
are
never
like
heard
totally
of.
not discussing wrestling right now. God damn.
What are we talking about?
I think it was
We're
safe
wasting time.
Exactly. Because
We have 2 hours
we
here
have
tonight.
2 hours to bowl right now. 2 hours to basically say anything. So if you want to give us a call, the number is 480-965-1260.
And if
Give us
you
a
can
call.
catch that in stereo,
If
that
your name is Chris Ferguson, I'm probably not going to pick up the phone.
480-965-1260 is the number. Give us a call. We're going to be joined here tonight by Raven, SoCal Val, and Cowboy Bill Watts. We got a packed show tonight. Some new faces and some legendary faces as well. A little bit of everything here at the Wrestling Epicenter. And why don't we start things out, since we're going to discuss kind of the status of professional wrestling. What is your opinion on the current status of professional wrestling?
If I fall asleep midway through Raw, I'm talking that hour 2 mark, you're doing something wrong. Cut the storylines. Let's get back into wrestling. And that's why they're bringing back ECW, but at the same time, 2 hours, dude, come on, man. I've got work the next morning. Come on, I've got to go do something.
So that's why they're bringing it back? It has nothing to do with anything else.
Also, money. Money. Vince McMahon. I love my money.
I think it probably has something to do with Paul Heyman and Tommy Dreamer begging him to do it for 4 years.
Probably about that, too.
Yeah.
But, hey, Ben, do you think this actually will succeed at all? Will it be anything worth watching?
Yes. I think ECW will and always has been worth watching. However, could this toned-down version get over? Yes, if the right things are done with it. I'm annoyed with the chat room because as soon as James logged in, I saw a post, and these guys can tell you it was something I said earlier, and I guess it's just common knowledge. What ECW needs to do is they've got the guys, they've got the cornerstones of the company. Now breed new guys like you used to, and the one name that circulates over everyone's lips is CM Punk.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of CM Punk. I think he's quite overhyped. That said, Paul Heyman has made garbage look good in the past, and I think he could do it with Punk.
You just pissed off then, yeah.
CM Punk is not garbage. CM Punk may be overhyped, but do not discredit him as much as you're discrediting him.
He has good matches, but his promos are at best Dean Malenko style.
You watched Major League Wrestling. You were
I saw the
did.
he
He
was
was
a
Get a
good
man like Paul Heyman behind CM Punk. He'll do well.
That's true.
He made a good point.
Yes.
Like I said, Paul can turn garbage into diamond, so he has that ability.
He is not garbage. That man has
He's not garbage, no.
He has a fantastic upside. You just haven't seen it yet.
He does have a fantastic upside, I am sure. However, his backstage attitude, thinking he's God's gift to wrestling, as well as the fact that he's really only a good talker, not a great talker,
Is he
really
still
makes me
dating
wonder.
Maria?
I believe so.
Then he is God's gift to wrestling.
Yeah,
He
upsetting.
wins.
Another one he was with, if you will, is going to join us hopefully next week, if not in 2 weeks when we return, and that is WCW's Daphne.
Whoa.
Shannon Ward. She actually wants to come on live.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Be two of us and Daphne. Giggity, giggity. Sounds like
are a sad.
I wanted her to wear the makeup.
Man.
she was like the best part of WCW during that time.
Daphne and Crowbar.
Daphne and Crowbar.
Crowbar was hysterical anytime he ever got on the mic and was announcing. He would call everything a Pier 6 brawl, which he would use every wrestling cliche, but he would do it sarcastically, and he was funny.
Not unlike Tony Schiavone. Hey, it's a Northern Lights suplex. Tony, that was a clothesline.
David Arquette just won the world title.
Oh,
Good
God.
Lord!
Good Lord, David.
It's the greatest night in wrestling history.
I have that on tape if anybody wants it.
I would like it.
It could be yours for a fee.
For a fee, so I can.
I would not like it.
So I can watch that on tape, so I can put battery acid in my eye from seeing that freaking monstrosity.
Visit James' website www.wrestlingepicenter.com or email James. Or here's James' phone number if you'd like to bitch
Why do
at
I feel
him
like
for
I'm
being
giving?
stupid.
Why do I feel like I'm doing a Tony Little infomercial right now?
You can do it, yeah, baby.
Something close like that.
I had to step back from the mic to do that, and
you
now
still
I'm
blew my
scared.
eardrum out.
No, my ears are pretty much gone. But okay, if ECW, are they going to keep it in Philly?
No.
No.
They're going to be in the same arena as SmackDown. It's going to be taking over for Velocity. Velocity's going to be canceled come September.
Okay, it's going to fail.
Now, here's why I say this. This is not good.
After knowing 2 things about it, Brendan
Okay.
automatically assumes the worst.
Here's the worst part of that, though. Number one, Vince is going to be there no matter what. So that means, hey, Vince, we want to crucify somebody tonight. Not on my show.
Send in Shawn
Have you
Michaels.
seen what Vince has done recently? I think
I
the
would've-
crucifixion's not too far out of its
He
range.
called God out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm hoping we see a Family Guy style version of Raw where like everything of Vince's turns to crap, and a giant statue crushes Shane McMahon in the end. That was way too much, but still.
Where's the Hassan?
Where's this on?
I'm not assigning him for that. You got to do something a little bit worse than that. I mean, given the programming we've seen with this, what's the state of wrestling right now?
That's my problem with McMahon. It's just, why are you doing these stupid freaking gimmicks? Give us wrestling. Give me something I want to actually watch and say, holy crap, that was cool. Instead of, okay, I've got 20 minutes for this next little skit right here. I've got time to go to the bathroom, take a whiz, get a beer, and call my mom and see how she's doing.
Doesn't take a whiz to see that you're number one there, Brendan. Right now, though,
That's right.
guys, I got to cut you off.
Nobody beats the Wiz.
I'm paying absolutely no attention to the fact that we need to take a break. So
Exactly. We'll take a break right now. Be back in a bit with the Bill Watts interview on the Wrestling Epicenter on the Blaze, 1260 AM.
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
This is Ron Simmons, and you're listening to The Blaze, 1260 AM.
Welcome back to the Blaze 1260 AM as we do it Olympic style with the former world's greatest tag team.
And now the theme song just for Charlie Haas. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to see Charlie Haas back in the mix of things and not being buried yet.
I'm proud to say that I did not get Charlie Haas banned from WWE forever with the interview I did with him the day after he got fired the first time.
Very close.
Very nice.
How'd that go?
He basically said, Dave Lagana sucks, and went on a 15-minute rant. Dave Lagana, by the way, is one of the guys writing SmackDown.
In about 2 days, we're going to see an internet post saying, "Thanks for bringing up bad memories, James. You've officially cost Charlie Haas his job this time around."
Again.
Way to go.
There was a lot of concern from my old broadcast partner about if we got him blackballed from the WWE or not.
Ooh.
Well-
He was like, I don't think we should have done that.
Let's talk. Let's get off that one for a
Let's
minute.
talk,
Let's
yes.
talk about someone who is clinically insane.
Me?
Bill Watts.
Bill Watts.
Oh, Bill Watts is not insane.
Bill Watts is insane.
Why?
I will.
Because he's religious? Do you equate religion
No.
with insanity?
No.
Some people do.
I equate religious beliefs with insanity when I see Bill Watts act just like the people who stand outside the Memorial Union here at ASU and hold up big signs
that?
telling people that they make them sick. If you want to preach your religion, you can do that, but do not yell your religion at me and tell me that I am wrong.
What's
you
that
don't
guy-
even know what I do
Bible
for a
thumping
living.
Jim?
You suck!
You suck.
Ah!
Now, I gotta disagree with you. I enjoyed Bill Watts.
He yelled at you for the first 10 minutes. I didn't even say anything, and he was mad.
He was mad because he thought we were just gonna ask him about all the people who think he's an SLB, basically.
Yeah. Well, he is.
Well, to be honest with you,
He's
about
a
80...
racist, he's a bigot, and he has a lot of problems in the business. I do not like that man.
Damn.
The bottom line was he was successful.
True. There's a
And
lot.
at the end of the
Hey,
day,
man.
if you make a lot of money and you can live with yourself and nobody's out for you with a shotgun, You did something all right.
Dude, Milli Vanilli was successful
We
at one
didn't get
point
enough.
in time.
I think someone is out for him with a shotgun, and it's called his son, Eric Watts. But that's
Damn.
that's neither
I
here
think he's
nor
after
there.
himself with a shotgun.
Probably. Who knows?
You know what? Bill Watts is on par with Fritz von Erich for most insane wrestling father.
Oh, come on now, man.
No.
Wow.
No, he is on. I do not like. I will be quiet because it's.
We
time
should probably
to
go
roll
with the interview. Yeah.
Well, let me just say this. I like Bill Watts. I think he did a great job during his interview. I think I left in the part in this edited version. If I did not leave it in the edited version, I think I added 2 Ds in that one. And if I did not... Yeah, edited. But if I did not leave it in there, he does get angry with us about 10 minutes into the interview because we kept asking about people who think he sucks.
Then we should change the subject and ask him, I think, about one other person who thinks he sucks.
Yes, but I think it was a great interview, and he really does go on a rant, and I think you guys will like it.
All right.
That beautiful bean footage.
With that, take it away, Virtual James and Virtual Benya.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Epicenter on the Blaze, 1260 AM, as we are now being joined by Cowboy Bill Watts. Mr. Watts, it's great to have you on the program.
Well, thank you.
It's good to have you here. So, one of the things that I've noticed about many of the guests that we've interviewed who have discussed you have said basically either they love you or they completely hate you. Why do you feel that is?
Well, I think it's because I've had an effect on life. You know, whatever I've done very passionately. And I think anytime that you're a person that's out front making decisions and leading the way, you're sort of going to have your followers and you're going to have your detractors. So, you know, that to me, I would say it would be a lot worse to go through life where nobody had an opinion about you, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
You know, being a never was been.
Right. Well, you have people, like I said, who say the nicest things about you, and some say they're not so nice. One of the ones that we had on who is kind of associated with the site is Lanny Poffo, who describes you as the halo to Ole Anderson's horns.
Well, Lanny Poffo would always have a way of putting something that would be different. I would say that for sure.
Well, what did you think of working with Lanny and, of course, his brother Randy?
I enjoyed working with Lanny. I worked actually with Lanny more than Randy. Randy, I worked with when he was playing pro baseball, and they forbid him to wrestle, so we had him wrestling under a mask, so they couldn't tell who he was. And so I really enjoyed that. And then the next time I saw him, he was in Atlanta. But then he juiced up and was big on steroids, but he was quite a bump taker. Then he had a situation happen where he got out of control, and it was where he was just about out of the business. And he called me and asked me, he said, you know, Billy said, I'm really going down the tube with what I've got, and I can't even, you know, I'm just barely surviving in the business, you know, what's wrong? And so, you know, when they see, that's what I mean, he at least sought out something and was willing to take the medicine of what he asked to find out. And so I told him, I said, well, you know, you can't do business the way you are. You can't go around threatening people with guns and pistol whipping people and all these things that you're doing. It's just not going to work. It's crazy, and you're going to be outside the mainstream, and what you've got's not working. It's not going down, and so, you know, that's where it is. So bottom line, he listened, and we talked, and I fixed him up and got his problem solved, where he apologized to the people he was in conflict with and went back to work and did great. And to his credit, he called on me after he was making all the big money with Vince, and he said, Cowboy, I just had to call you and tell you how much I appreciate what you did for me, because if you hadn't done that, I wouldn't even be in the business, and I wouldn't be making this money today. So, you know, that's the kind of thing. See, a lot of people have stories on me, and they don't even know me.
Right.
And they repeat a bunch of stories and a bunch of garbage about things they don't even know.
Right.
Because, you know, there's always... You know, I'm not saying that certainly that I did everything right. There's many things I did that were not right. I had a very self-destructive streak too, but there was a lot of things that I was able to help and influence people's lives in this business.
Well, do you prefer that people actually come to you if they do have a problem with you, or do you think it's very cowardly to just go behind your back and say all these nasty things about you?
Well, you know, first of all, the people that go behind my back and say nasty things about me, I really could care less. I mean, that's their problem. It's not my problem.
Right.
You know, I know what I've done in my life. And so, you know, it's kind of like you wonder what kind of Kool-Aid they're drinking. You know, it's just, you know, some of these guys have some ridiculous concepts, and they attribute these things to me. And half the time, sometimes I don't even know what they're talking about. So, you know, whatever they want to do, that's their problem. I don't have a problem. So I was telling somebody the other day, it's just amazing to me how, like I say, everybody's got a Bill Watts story. And generally speaking, as these guys start writing their own books, which is more about them self-aggrandizing themselves than maybe telling the truth, they have a story where they backed me down, or they called me out, or they did something dramatic that really makes them look like a stud. Now, my question to you would be, in the 25 years that I was in this business, and then all the years I was in the promotion, of course, I had in my dressing room, we didn't stop a fight. If somebody got a fight, we didn't stop it. We wanted them to get it out of their system.
Yeah.
I wonder how I conducted my business in the 25 years, running and hiding from all these guys. Gee whiz, if every guy that was supposedly out there that's had me scared to death and that I wouldn't face them or I ran away from them, I must have spent most of my time hiding. So, maybe I wasn't even in the business. I just find it just completely ridiculous how some of these people carry on, and I don't even know what their purpose is, except, again, to self-aggrandize themselves. I've never said in my book that I was the toughest guy in the business. I never said that I was the best worker. I never took that kind of credit for me. As a matter of fact, did you read my book?
I've read most of it, yes.
All right. Well, the bottom line is, I think in my book, if you look at it really straightforward, you found I laid my heart out.
Yes.
And told a lot of the mistakes I had made in life, and the pain they had caused a lot of people. And I think I was very, very truthful in that book.
Right, and you were not doing what I, for lack of a better term, put down other wrestlers for doing, and that is trying to make yourself... in other words, we discuss a lot of the books. One of the ones that we have a problem with, and I don't know if you read it, is the Ric Flair book. And it seems like Flair just bashes anybody that's not currently under WWE contract.
Well, again, you've got to consider the source.
Yeah, it's just self-serving.
And again, anybody that reads my book would realize I didn't set out to write that book to self-aggrandize Bill Watts.
Right.
I had a higher purpose. I wanted to give something back in life. At this point, I'll be 67 years old May the 5th.
Oh, wow.
So at this time in my life, I thought if I can help one person to understand life a little better and where they don't make the mistakes that I made, then that would be all I would ever want from writing this book. And the feedback I'm getting already is just so humbling when people write you a letter and say, this is how this book affected me, or especially if somebody says, I went and bought a Bible the other day. I haven't read a Bible in years, but because of what you said, I went and bought a Bible. And I'm reading the Bible again. Something like that, you see, to me has tremendous value. And to me, now we're talking about the purpose of why I wrote the book.
Now, one of those guys who had called you out, and whether or not it was justified, was Jake the Snake Roberts. We spoke about him
Jake the Snake, because he's so noted for calling people out, isn't he? Jake the Snake, I don't know if anybody Jake the Snake's ever called out. I mean, first of all, Jake the Snake, I don't know if he could whip anybody. I never saw anybody I thought he could whip, and I don't know if anybody was ever afraid of Jake. So, and is Jake known for being stable, or is he known for having a real serious drug abuse problem? So would you think that Jake and his story, it might just maybe it's, again, when you're talking about Kool-Aid somebody's drinking, I think Jake could be one that would really be right there that might have a problem with reality.
Yeah. He actually
the only thing I'd say about Jake is he's aptly named. He's very aptly named. He's Jake the Snake's like, trust me. Come on, guys. And let me say this: if we're going to sit there and interview about everybody that's talked about,
no, we're not going to do that. Don't worry about it.
I'm not interested in your interview.
Oh, we're not going to do that.
That's not the way I want to go. If you want to talk about my book or my life or something like that, then we can proceed. But I think we've gone enough down this trail that has no return.
Actually, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your religious. You mentioned it briefly. I was kind of touched in the book about how you talk about your religion. Looking back, is the wrestling business, as Vince Russo put it, evil?
Well, why don't you make your own decision? Because it doesn't make any difference what I think. It's what you think. And with me, it would be a simple matter. Is, let's say, would you just sit there and maybe help me by saying, give me 10 things that the wrestling business today is pro-God about?
I don't know. You got Vince McMahon sitting there telling you that he is God.
Do you believe it?
No.
Well, then what's the problem? I'm asking you what you believe. I could care less what Vince believes or anybody else. I just asked you a question. You asked me if it's evil. I didn't say it was evil.
Right.
I said it's against God. But the bottom line is, tell me 10 things about the wrestling business today that's pro-God. Let me make it easier for you, okay? I don't want to stump you. Give me 5 things that it's pro-God.
Well, there's really not many things, and unfortunately, a lot of the good lessons that we're being taught, the good versus evil, kind of has gone out the window with the advent, I should say.
Let me just ask you that. Let's take religion out of it, because I'm going to say something to you real quick. My faith is not a quote about religion. My faith is about a personal relationship with my Savior, Jesus Christ. See, I think the Bible is about a deep personal relationship. I think it's God's revelation of himself to his creation because he desires a relationship with us. So bottom line, it's my relationship. But now let's go a different level.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. If you were a serious father and you had children that were of an age where they would watch professional wrestling, give me 10 positive things that you think wrestling, by watching that wrestling, that they've gained for life that would really help them morally or ethically.
Today or ever?
Today.
Today,
nothing. What we're talking about today. You asked me about today.
Today would be no. I would not let my child watch wrestling.
I mean. So I think it says it all. In other words, it's gone beyond the pale, and yet it still calls itself family entertainment. And I watched Vince's interview with Bryant Gumbel or whoever he interviewed with, or Bob Costas, and Vince is a forceful talker, and he's not intimidated by these guys. But I mean, how could you sit there and buy that garbage about what he was saying that they're doing and ratings-wise and yada, 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 and still then think that what they're promoting, because let me ask you this, do they promote respect for authority?
No, absolutely
not. Do they promote respect for the opposite gender?
Absolutely not. No, they actually beat up women.
Are they strong about being anti-drug?
Well, they have a drug policy, but let's see how well that's enforced.
Yes, they have a drug policy. And did you see the last picture of McMahon on some magazine? I'd say he's taking his own stuff, wouldn't you?
I would say so, too.
All right, so the bottom line, I think we've answered that question, that anybody can look at that sport today, and they can see that, first of all, it is definitely against God. Don't they even mock God?
Yeah.
Are they mocking God right now?
With as Jerry Lawler said, they actually just booked God in the match.
Yeah, well, sure. Let me say one thing. Everybody will meet God one day, and they'll have to explain their life. And the difference in the way I believe is that Christ will be my advocate. I don't want to be my own advocate when I go in front of God and try to tell him what I have done or why I would deserve to be in heaven. I don't want to face that deal. That's how I feel about it.
A lot of people point at wrestling today and say it's just so entertainment-based, but if you go back to your Mid-South and the UWF, a lot of that stuff was getting more towards the sports entertainment. Of course, not to the level or the adult nature of it is now. But do you think that you guys might have been ahead of your time?
Well, I don't know. I know that fans really seem to enjoy what we did, and they certainly still talk about it a lot. And from the point of personal pride, like I think anybody has to have a certain amount of pride in what they do, or they don't do it well. It's really gratifying to find that people still have such a deep allegiance to what we did, and that they follow it so closely. I think what we did was we created exciting television and exciting wrestling. We were in an area that wasn't very big population-wise, and I was, without a doubt, bottom line, at the very least, the third best promotion in the nation, and maybe percentage-wise the best. So we not only ran a great wrestling operation, we also ran a responsible business operation.
But a lot of people who were in that territory say that it was one of the better places to work because the money was good and the fans seemed to actually appreciate what you guys were doing.
Well, they respected. One thing we did. As a wrestler, I can't make you change your mind about what you think about wrestling, but I can demand that you respect me. And I think that I always would ask our guys to carry themselves in such a way that they could be respected. And if they did, then that was really a good deal.
Absolutely. Well, we talked a little bit about Vince. being on TV and being a promoter, and some people, not to get back to that kind of questions, but some people would say maybe you put yourself on TV too much.
That I did? Me?
Yeah.
Where? In Mid-South?
Yes.
Well, you have to understand that what I did, because I was the one that took myself off of television, and I was always trying to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did is that when I started taking over and doing the color commentary, it was for a purpose. The purpose was that I wanted to explain to the fans at home what the wrestler was actually going through when they were out there, and is something that is totally foreign to them today, because they don't ever talk about what's happening in the ring today. That's almost a taboo. They think, see, you've got to understand that what's out there today is a cartoon that's come to life, whereas it was a different era then. We were saying that it was an athletic endeavor, and so I wanted the fans to emote and understand what the wrestler was feeling, and so who better could describe that than somebody who had wrestled? But my goal was always to get myself out of the ring and to get myself off the television. And so basically speaking, as the years went by, I was on TV less and less and less.
Mm-hmm.
When you went to WCW in the early 1990s, some fans say that they were upset with the WCW product because Ric Flair was no longer around, of course.
Well, I didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, you weren't involved with that, but we know that, yes.
Do you believe that WCW without Flair was as big of a deal as a lot of people seem to think it was?
I don't think any one person would make WCW. I don't think that was their problem at all. Mm-hmm. I think their problem was that they'd spent like $30,000, which was a lot of money back then. They'd spent $30,000 on a survey to find out what the fans wanted, and versus NWA wrestling or Vince's wrestling, and the survey came back unanimously saying we don't want what Vince has. We want something completely different. And so they took that study that they'd used that $30,000 to do, mm-hmm. and ignored it. And instead they started trying to copy Vince. Well, you're not. I don't care what. Vince is a genius in his own right, so you're certainly not going to out-innovate the innovator of his own system. And so they had no rhyme nor reason, and it was just a financial failure, and and they wouldn't listen to anybody. They had a bunch of people up there that it's like anything else. They always think they know what they're doing, and even if they don't know what they're doing, they're going to say they do just because they'd much rather be in power than to have somebody successful helping them. So that was what would happen at Turner Broadcasting, is that they had just let it go. Go crazy, kind of speaking. It had a little direction, and and it showed. And so they were losing like $8 million a year then. So when they brought me in, they asked me if I could bring it in at under an $8 million a year loss, and I said, "Good gosh, I hope so." And as a matter of fact, in 11 months, we brought it in at a $400,000 loss, and couldn't even get an accommodation from the boss upstairs because he was in his politics too. So. I always operated everywhere I ran. I believed you had to have a bottom line. I mean, in other words, why be in business if you don't have a bottom line? That's what you're in business for. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I ran every business I was ever in as a business.
Mm. Was it your idea to stop the whole jumping off the top rope thing in WCW, or was that something over your head?
It was my idea. Sure, it was my idea.
Why?
Well, how old are you?
Not really. I'm about 18 now. Yeah, that's right.
You're 18 now? 18. Well, I doubt if you would understand what I would say then, but here was your theory of being a villain. If you were going to be a villain, you had to cheat in order to beat the babyface. If you could walk out into the ring and beat the babyface head on, then you ought to be the babyface. Mm-hmm. So when you're jumping off the top rope, there's no heat to it because you're not breaking any rule. So by making it illegal, then if you jump off the top rope without getting caught and beat the babyface, you have gotten what we call heat. And so it was really a good idea.
Perfect sense.
Totally good.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, and it did. And so we were not trying to get away with people doing high-risk maneuvering moves. My gosh, we're not insane. we were strictly going to put it back in the context that the move had to mean something. Which, you know, if you look at today, my gosh, they powerbomb women through chairs and stuff, and the girl gets up and walks away. Now, see that you guys have been retrained to that, so it can never go back the other way.
It can never go back?
No, it can't go back. There's no way the audience has been retrained into today. I don't think anybody could afford the time that you'd need to retrain the audience, so to speak. But anyway, bottom line is that today nothing means anything. There's not a move out there. You got to realize that even when we changed the world's title to Ron Simmons in Baltimore, which was a very tough market, there were people in the audience crying because we caught them so off balance. They didn't understand. They didn't know what we were going to do. Well, you go to the matches today, you pretty well know who's going to win what. And you certainly know no major title's going to change hands unless it's WrestleMania or something like that. You know, I mean, it's ludicrous. I mean, so why would you go to Madison Square Garden? Because you're not going to see anything happen. And that's a crying shame, because that was the mecca of wrestling. I mean, I think you should always have the mecca of wrestling where there's major title changes and stuff. So one thing about when you went to a Mid-South event, you never knew what was going to happen, but you knew one thing, that you weren't going to figure it, and it was going to be exciting, and you were going to have more than your money's worth.
Well, that's a good theory about everything. And actually, you mentioned Ron Simmons, and let me warn you, I hate to give you these questions. I'm not a negative person. But I sat down last year on the WWE tour bus with Ron Simmons for about 15 minutes, and first of all, let me tell you that he was pretty well schnockered.
Yeah, I've heard, yeah, he has substance abuse problems.
Well, he was pretty out there when I was doing the interview, and we were doing a little thing we do at the end of some interviews when I said word associations, and one of the names was Bill Watts. And his response was, racist, and I have nothing nice to say about him.
Well, you know that there's an old, you know, nothing changes really. When you can't carry the load, how many people are honest enough to blame themselves?
Not many.
Not many. And bless his heart, he was put into an awesome position. And Ron Simmons knows that when we did the drug testing, he knows whether or not he passed the drug test. And he knows whether or not he let down everybody. I'm not saying that. That's between him and himself, you know, but he knows. And he knows I wasn't a racist. See, that is such a cheap, nothing happened deal. It's just, I mean, play the race card. I mean, if I was Ron Simmons, that's what I would really want to be known for, playing the race card to blame why I was a flop.
That, unfortunately, is something that I've heard from you, or about you, is that you are a racist. Now, obviously, I don't believe that, but...
Let's look at my record, all right?
Right.
Who created more black wrestling stars that were true stars and not just tokens than any other promoter in the business?
Yourself.
Who had the only black booker in the business?
Yourself.
Who had, even when at WCW, had a black office manager, not because she was black, but because she was the best. So, you know, that doesn't really, again, that's somebody looking for something to try to create a bunch of crap, because it just doesn't hold up. It doesn't fly.
Where do you think it comes from? Where do you think it resonates from?
Ignorance.
Ignorance?
Well, sure, it comes from ignorance. Where does all stuff like that come from? It comes from ignorance. I mean, you can't be intelligent and believe something like that. Ask Ernie Ladd. Go ask Ernie Ladd if I'm a racist.
You're right.
You think he might know?
I think he might have an idea.
I think he might know. Do you think that if Ernie Ladd at 6'9" and 320 thought I was racist, that he would also love me as his brother?
Right.
You see, so I mean, it gets down to the point where people are creating stuff for their own self. Again, what's their payoff?
You mentioned a few minutes ago about it never going back, and one of the other things that I think is damaging the business is how open it is, how everybody knows everything about the personal lives of the wrestlers. What do you think of the, for lack of a better term, death of kayfabe?
Well, to me, I think it didn't do anything good. You know, it's kind of like I told the guy, the bosses at WCW, John Wayne, we know, doesn't kill the Indians.
Right.
But he doesn't ride off in the sunset with them either. And so you're a fan.
Right.
Let me ask you, you see, if there's no mystery, What's the excitement? I mean, let me give you for instance. My wife wanted me to go see Titanic.
Right.
I didn't go. I know what the ending was. The boat was gonna sink. You know, so I mean, I want to be. If I'm going to be entertained, I don't want to have it figured before I get there. You know, whether it's a movie, anything, the movies that catch me that I love, the movies that I love that have great memories that I'd watch again are the movies where they were executed well enough and that the finish, or whatever you want to call it, was a surprise to me.
Just out of curiosity, what is one of those movies?
Oh, I love Shane.
Shane.
Now, Shane to me was one of the classics that really showed you how you ought to build build an issue between a babyface and a heel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there you have Alan Ladd come in, and then they bring in Jack Palance as the big bad guy, and they both go over, and then you have the one big blow off. I'll tell you another great movie, a great western that I love was One-Eyed Jacks with Marlon Brando.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, there's some great movies out there, but the great the first that Steve McQueen when he was the bank robber. I can't even think of that one right now. The Thomas Crown Affair. What a great finish! There was another one that was really, really neat. That was There Was a Crooked Man with Kirk Douglas and Henry Fonda, because Henry Fonda, who ever figured he'd be the villain? I'd never seen Henry Fonda as a villain, and the ending on that thing was just phenomenal. When Henry Fonda turned out to be the guy with no morals. Mm-hmm. So you see what I mean? Those are the movies like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do? You want to go to one where you already know who the bad guy is and who's going to win and who's going to lose, and that it's all nothing in any way? I mean, you know, see a good movie,
right?
Even though you know it's actors,
right?
You can still get caught up in it and enjoy it and really let yourself go. Well, you can do the same thing in a wrestling match. That the guys are great athletes, they're great performers. You can still go there because they can fool you. That's happened too many times. I always tell the story about Killer Kowalski and I getting into it in the dressing room in a little town in Pennsylvania when J.J. Dillon was a commission referee. He wasn't even in the business yet, and we got into it in the ring, and everybody thought we'd gotten into it, and we carried it on down in the dressing room, and we had guys taking sides and trying to separate us and everything else. It was just a scream. And we had guys calling the office to try to snitch off on us because, why? Because they hoped that we'd get fired so they'd get our position, you know? The usual high moral ground type thing. So the bottom line is, Kowalski and I came to the town together and rode home together and had a laugh about it all the way. I'll tell you a funny thing. At one time when I snatched him out of the shower and he and I were about to hook up again, one more time I said, "You big dumb Polak, I'm going to suplex you right here on the concrete." And that wasn't racial then, because that's just how we talked then. And Kowalski was one of my dearest friends. I mean, the guy I got over in New York going 20-minute Broadways with the guy. Okay. That's how over he was. Just for me to be able to go a 20-minute Broadway with him got me over. So anyway, the bottom line is, the Kowalski, and I'm telling him I'm getting ready to suplex him on the concrete, and the guys are saying, "No, Bill, no, don't suplex him on the concrete." And Kowalski's whispering in my ear, "What the hell's a suplex?" He didn't even know what a suplex is. And I mean, it was just a trip. So now here's what the point is. The point is two great workers, and I'm not talking about myself as being a great worker. Let's say two people that know how to get themselves over and how to engineer a match for the emotion they want.
Mm-hmm.
If they can fool the boys, they can sure fool the people. Mm-hmm. And then don't you think that the only time the boys got upset about that deal probably is when they figured out they'd been had. You know?
Right.
But the bottom line is, which would you rather go watch? Would you rather go watch Titanic when you know the boat's going down?
Right.
Or would you rather go watch a movie that you think, my gosh, I wonder how is this going to happen? What are they going to do with this? That to me is, excuse me, that's what I'd rather watch.
Well, I read an interview.
And that's what I'd rather be a part of.
Right. And I read an interview you did before your book came out, and you were talking about how initially you didn't even want to write a book.
No.
What changed your mind?
The reason I never wanted to write a book is I didn't want to do exactly what all the books that I understand. I haven't read any of them. I don't follow it, but I understand most of the books out there are self-aggrandizing. In other words, the guy that wrote it, he beat everybody. He was the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know, he could probably walk on water. And for me to sit there and write a book about our business, what's my payoff? What's the return? I don't need to be self-aggrandized. You know, it's just not where I am in my life at this time that I want to go out and convince everybody how great I am. You know, that's just baloney. So I didn't want to do it. But then when Scott Williams came to me with the project, and I found out Scott Williams is a Christian too, and I told him, I said, Scott, I'm interested in this project, providing I can tell the story the way I want to, but also that I can reveal in this journey in life the things I feel I've learned in my spirituality. Because I think there's a major problem in the human race, is that we're all going to die. I think we're all going to die. I don't think anybody's going to get out of here without dying.
Right.
So if mortality is a major issue, I think it's time we all face it. And generally speaking, let's face it, who wants to talk about mortality, especially their own? But you better start thinking, where are you going to spend eternity? Or do you think this is it and that you just burn up in the crisp and there's nothing? Or do you think there's a spiritual life and an eternal life? And if you think there is a spiritual life or eternal life, do you think heaven and hell are real? If you think heaven and hell are real, and if you die tonight, where will you go? Where will you go? Will you go to heaven or to hell? And if you go there, and you say, well, I would go to heaven, pray tell me, why would God let you in? And so, see, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to explore some of these things, if just to get people to think that, man, maybe I better think about this. Maybe I better think about where I'll be spending eternity. I just had a friend go to a bank 2 years ago in Tulsa to make a deposit, and they were robbing the bank. They shot the bank manager. They murdered the beautiful young lady who was the teller, shot her and killed her, and they shot him. 2 years ago, they shot him. He was walking in that bank. He was a successful businessman. The only thing he was going to do there was make a deposit, and he ends up getting shot. Do you think maybe he might think, gee whiz, where would I have gone if I'd have been shot? What would have happened to me? So that's what the reason is right now.
Have you always been this religious, or is this something that came along later in life?
Well, I think everybody, too, would like to wrap everything up and put a nice, neat bow on it. Unfortunately, I can't. In my book, I talk about the fact that I was raised in the church and very deeply convicted in that I believed in Jesus Christ. But then I also started talking about how the rebellion set in. And you see, I think that a lot of very well-meaning churches start trying. You see, they make it so anybody, they get you to where anybody can understand how to become saved, so to speak, as the term is used. But then as soon as you're saved, it's almost like, well, now then that you're saved, we're going to tell you all the things you have to do so you can't lose your salvation. And that's when they start in all that, and they've got this performance thing all geared up to where if you do this, this, and this, then you don't lose your salvation. But if you do this, this, and this, you lose your salvation and you're kicked off the team. And here's the problem in America, and the problem in our world, is that everybody wants to measure up. We all want to measure up. We all want to be a part of something. We all want to be a part of a family or part of a team. We want to be a winner. We want to be part of this, okay? And so then the hardest thing in the world is, do we make the team? And if somebody says, well, you made the team, but now you're not making the team, you're kicked out. Do you get kicked off the team? And this is a horrible thing to put people into. So here's Almighty God, who invested so much of himself into having a relationship with us. He's the only God of any religion that says, I love you so much that I want a relationship with you. I love you so much that I will send my own son to pay the penalty for your sin, because I want to have an eternal relationship with you. He's the only God that does that. And so, you know, that was huge. So in my rebellion, all these years of rebellion, you know, I turned my back on that, and I went into the desert of all that. But I don't care whether you believe in God or you don't believe in him. God's laws are absolute. See, here's another thing, another big trap. We're into a society of relativism, and we're trying to do away with all with anything that says there's absolute right and absolute wrong.
Absolutely.
And so what happens then is if you don't have a model for absolute right and absolute wrong,
right,
then all of a sudden you have no basis for your moral and ethical behavior.
The most recent thing is look at all the child molesters and how many people are trying to get them out.
That's just one other symptom of a sick society. Is you're exactly right. And so again, I'm telling you, there is a place that there is moral. There is a distinct set. A model for right and wrong, and that's the Holy Bible. So now, whether or not you believe the Bible or not, if you violate God's law, you will suffer the consequences. Let me give you for instance. Let's say that all of a sudden in America it's no longer against the law to commit murder. It's not against the law. Do you think then that you could commit murder and not have any consequences just because it was not against the law? Because, see, it's against God's law. So let's say you believe that in America passed the law, it's not against the law to commit murder. Then do you think that you could commit murder even though it wasn't against the law and not have any consequences?
No.
No, because you would possibly face retaliation by the person or the relative of who you killed. You would also have the moral problem of dealing with it within your own conscience and your own self. You see what I mean? So no matter what, when you violate God's law, you're going to suffer the consequences here on earth. The difference is God has paid your eternal sin debt, so that you're not going to pay for it in eternity, and that's a huge thing. And so, what my whole book is about the choices I made and their consequences. And if I could live my life over again, the one thing I would want to do is never take a drink. Another thing, because if I didn't, maybe I would have been the kind of father I should have been, because you see, there are no mistakes. A child is a gift of God. God decides life. So if he gives you a child, that's a blessing from him. So then you become a steward for that child. Well, I didn't even love my children as a blessing of God enough to be a man of moral integrity where I stayed married and didn't cheat on their mother every single night in the wrestling business. You see what I mean? And kids look at Dad like, gee, Dad, you can fix things. You're my dad. And Dad didn't fix things. And see, kids aren't going to do what you say. They're going to do what you do. So my kid said, well, Dad, you say don't drink and drive. That's right. Gosh, I got a beer in my hand and I'm doing 100 miles an hour. And then when your kids get out on the road and they get around the other guys, they find out Dad is screwing all the girls that are around the arena. Well, first of all, what does that do to a young man to think my dad is cheating on my mother? It's got to kill him. But then, what does the kid want to be? He wants to be just like Dad. So then he goes and starts cheating around a dysfunctional business, and I never saw a family in wrestling that wasn't a dysfunctional family, including my own. And how subtle the delusion of Satan is, that for some reason I thought I was a pretty good father until I started looking at it in the light of God. And I realized I was a horrible father, and my kids are still paying the price for the things that I did wrong. Another thing in families, every child is unique. God doesn't make any mistakes. He doesn't make a mistake. So no child should be compared to the other. Each child should be loved completely and 100% for who they are. Instead, we are always comparing our children. Well, you've got it. My little brother, good gosh, what he went through. You got to be like Billy, make the same grades and play football, wrestle. What a horrible burden to put on a child instead of him just being loved for who he was. How insecure do you end up if you think you've got to have approval based upon you being or living up to a child or some peer? Or to have expectations placed on you by your parents, expectations maybe they couldn't even have lived up to themselves, instead of just love. See, God doesn't make any mistakes. So if a child comes into this world crippled, he has a purpose. He still has a purpose eternally. See, he's a sovereign Lord. He doesn't do anything that's a mistake.
Absolutely. Wow, that was a very enlightening on to who Bill Watts is as a person. I really enjoyed that.
Well, thank you.
All right, before we wrap up, can we just give you a couple word associations?
I guess you can try.
All right, now, we're not going to hit you with just negative names. If you have something nice to say, please do. If you have something negative to say, if you want to, you can do it. If not, just say next and we'll go to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I got this.
Go for it.
All right, first one I'm going to give you is Gordon Soley.
I loved him. Loved him. What a wonderful guy. Learned a lot, and Eddie Graham taught me one of the great lessons I learned in wrestling through Gordon Soley. And I don't know how much time you got if you wanted to go into it, but I mean, it was just awesome. But Eddie Graham was a great teacher, and I learned so much from him. But Gordon Soley was a neat guy.
Mm-hmm.
Bruno Sammartino.
Awesome. I have nothing but the highest respect for him. Bruno Sammartino and I liked each other from day one. We haven't seen each other probably 3 times in the last 20 years, and we still have the same amount of respect, because you see, he's a guy of principle and integrity, and he doesn't change. He doesn't change. Bruno Sammartino is a guy that I'm proud to know.
Jim Ross.
Jim Ross, well, you guys right now, you're stacking the deck. Jim Ross is another guy that I think the world of. I hired him at a very young age, so he went through every phase of Bill Watts. He probably knows Bill Watts better than Bill Watts knows Bill Watts, and he can probably tell you the things he likes and the things he don't like. But the one thing is, Jim Ross was dedicated. He loved this business, and he learned every single phase of it. Every phase. He would not only was a great announcer, he became a good booker. He was also a great syndicator. Jim Ross could do it all.
Here's one for you. Crippler Ray Stevens.
Oh, I love the guy. I learned a lot from Ray Stevens, too. Ray was at the height of his career when I met him in California, and he was a complete package, and he was just one of these guys that was a natural in the ring. He was a great teacher, too. Many times we got in trouble for me doing something wrong where he would make me do it until I got it right in the ring. And then I was in a match one time with Jim Haiti, who was another great guy. Shires was smart, and most of the promoters were. When you came in, for some reason, I've always had that ability to get over and draw money, but that didn't mean that I could carry a match the proper way sometimes. So what Shires did was he put Jim Haiti with me to be my tag partner, and I was the champion. And then, so he would work me in tag matches and then build up to the championship match. And so lots of times, Haiti, they'd give me a big, huge comeback. I'd come and make the comeback, and Stevens or Patterson would say, now get back out of here and get Haiti in the ring before you kill us all. Let's get this match back under control. But one time we were in San Jose, California, and they had a match. We had a match. I was in it. I say they because what I watched Haiti and Pat and Ray do blew my mind. I'd never seen moves like that. I mean, they were just off the planet, and the people were just completely exhausted when the match was over. And yet, when we came to the dressing room, Roy Shires cussed us out for 30 minutes about we were killing the business, and he used it as a comparison that he'd had Pepper Gomez out there, who was a great star, and had Pepper in Pepper's match. The finish was built a certain way, but we were out there doing the same things that he'd been carried out of the ring on. We were doing them as high spots. I mean, the thing, Ray Stevens could do bumps that he was ahead of his time, and so you see, Roy was right. And if you didn't hold the line and make things have meaning and have reason, which is just what you were talking about today, earlier today, is when you can powerbomb a 120-pound girl on a table,
right,
and she gets up and walks off, there's nothing that has any rhyme or reason or meaning.
Mm.
So that's how you learn. See, in the old days, you learned the business going up and down the road and working with so many different people. Because if we drove to Fresno for television, I'm telling you, all the way down and all the way back, Jim Haiti was telling me what I was doing right or wrong, and most of the time it was more wrong than right. And that's how they taught you. And it was a great place to learn an awful lot of things. So Ray Stevens was great.
Actually, I want to throw a little quote that Hulk Hogan gave me, and actually 5 minutes or 5 weeks after Hulk Hogan gave it to me, JBL gave it to me, and that is, a lot of the guys in business today, they learn the moves, but they don't learn wrestling.
Well, and that's true, but it's a different business.
Right.
And so, again, the guys are going to do today what it requires for them to make it today. And that's why you have so many of the old guys that still can hang on, because they can still go out and have a match because they understand the psychology of managing the crowd. And so those guys can go out and even though they're much older and maybe don't have the same amount of stamina and everything or the same athletic ability, they can still go out and have the great match because they can control the crowd.
Just got a couple more for you here. First one is going to be Ric Flair.
I like Rick. I have no problem with Rick. Rick used to carry my bag when I was a star and he was just getting in, but he worked his way up and became world champion. I always felt Rick gave you his all in the ring, so I never had a problem with Rick that I'm aware of, and as a matter of fact was instrumental in getting him to come back to WCW because I felt we needed more people there who would always compete to have the best match. You see, when I came back to WCW, I always believed that if somebody was in the match before me, that I wanted to go watch it because I wanted to have a better match than they had. We had to compete for our positions. But when their positions were guaranteed by contract, well, they didn't have to compete, and they didn't want to have to spend the time. They didn't want to have to sit there and watch the other match. Why do I have to do that? Well, how do you get better if you don't see what somebody else is doing? So anyway, at my place, you had to be there a certain amount of time before the matches, and you couldn't leave after your match. You were there to be a part of the business, and it was a part of it. So I wanted Flair to be back there because I knew that Flair, with his ego, would go out there and he would be competing to have the best match on the card. That's what I wanted out of him, and I knew he would do that. So I've always thought Flair was great for our business.
Scott Steiner.
Scott Steiner is without a doubt a great athlete, and I think I don't think it's great as a person. He and I did not get along. Rick Steiner is the one I love, and was a great one, and always was great. And Scott was, so many guys that were so heavily juiced had a lot of emotional problems, and so then and again, you had no control over the way the contracts were set up there. It wasn't based on performance. So if a guy, even if he got injured, he didn't have to go to rehab until we set it up. That's one of the things we did too, set up a rehab where you had to go to rehab. He didn't have to do anything and could collect his whole contract. What's your incentive? You see, athletes can't be allowed to sit in a comfort zone. That's not, that may be okay for Mr. Corporate America if you want, but it's not for athletes. Athletes have to know that they're always out there competing for their job, that if somebody's always coming in and be better, they're going to be replaced. That's just the nature of it. So I'm not a big Scott Steiner fan, although I certainly recognize his athletic ability. Would always give him the credit for that. But I don't think he could hold a candle to his brother, Rick Steiner. I thought Rick Steiner was 10 times better than Scott.
All right, final three. First one is your son, Eric Watts.
My son Eric is a neat kid, and he got a lot of bad rap because of the politics. It's kind of like today with Exxon getting all the rap on the oil deal, and that has nothing to do with it. Isn't it amazing how gullible people are, and that nobody's paying attention? If you really want to save money on gasoline, let's let the government reduce the taxes.
Right, exactly.
I mean, the Exxon's making less than 10% per gallon, and there's 20% just in government and federal tax, not including the state tax. So I
have a statistic for you on that.
Yeah,
66% of what you're paying for gas is taxes.
Yeah. So the bottom line, but everybody wants to blame Exxon, and Exxon's not the culprit. But anyway, bottom line, my son Eric, a good athlete. He was Snellenberger's quarterback. He wanted to be a part of this. I think that guys that have grown up in the wrestling business generally speaking, make very good wrestlers for our business. So if I had to do all over, I'd done the same thing. He wasn't put over a bunch of people. So if you go back and look at the record, we didn't put him over any stars. And Rick Rude didn't want to do the program the way we wanted it, and never did understand it. And here's Rick Rude, who was without steroids, in my opinion, would have been a whopping 180-pounder. And he thought that the way to get heat was to eat up everybody. So it just didn't work. And then the next thing on Eric's part is Eric never got enough time and grade to learn how to get himself over, because Eric, like so many guys like him, would go out and he would make the match first, and that doesn't always make you able to or to understand how to get yourself over. For instance, Ted DiBiase. Ted DiBiase is the kind of guy you always want in the card because Ted DiBiase is going to get the match over first. He's going to make sure the match gets over, and everybody's not like that. And so my son Eric, I think, got a certain bad rap, and that's too bad, but that's life. I don't think he deserved the bad rap, personally.
Okay. Vern Gagne.
Vern Gagne was a neat guy. Vern Gagne was he was an All-American wrestler from Minnesota. He's also All-American in football, and he also was on the Olympic team, on the United States Olympic team. So when you're talking about credentials as an athlete, he had them. I thought as a promoter, he really could see the big picture. I didn't think he didn't necessarily like details, which I think was his shortcoming, but as far as understanding what he was going to do and where he was going to go with something, he was extremely good at it, and so I learned a lot from Vern. See, I think you got to learn from everybody that you're around, and I learned a lot from Vern. You see what they do that you agree with, or you see what they do that you disagree with. I think that you have to grow, and so I think that I learned a lot from Vern, and it was good.
All right, last one. This is a very popular one to give people. Vince McMahon.
Senior or junior?
That would be senior. The one we have. Well, junior, the one we have now.
Oh.
By the way, don't call him junior. He gets mad at that.
Well, I could care less. I never was noted for really kissing his ass anyway. But the bottom line is that I think he's a very, very driven guy. I think he's extremely creative. I enjoy booking with him. The guy books through the same theory that I did, that you get way out there ahead, and you book ahead, and then of where you want to be, then you work backwards to see how to get there. So I think Vince was excellent. I think he's, without a doubt, as I told him, there's just no room for two Titans at Titan. But I thought the experience was good, that I got a chance to get to know him, to see what I thought of him personally. And but I was also ready to get out of the business and realized that I wanted to leave the business for good that time. I sure didn't want to live back there. I thought his wife, I had the highest respect for her, and I haven't watched anything that they've done since, so I have no real opinion on it from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been such a great honor having you on the show. Where can people find out more information on Bill Watts?
Well, certainly they can go to my website, which is www.cowboybillwatts.com. And that'd be, I think, the best thing for them to find out or more about my book or something they may want to.
Can they buy the book through that website?
They can. No, I don't have any way of taking a credit card. But if somebody wants it from me, where I inscribe it, I have instructions where they can buy it from me by sending me a money order or a bank money order, cashier's check for $25 for each book, and then I will inscribe it and send it priority mail to whatever address they want. And a lot of people are doing that.
That's excellent. Well, we can't thank you enough, and we wish you the best of luck, and thank you for sitting with us. We apologize if we turned you off a little bit at the beginning, but I think it turned out to be good, and we really do appreciate your time.
I'm fine with it. Again, I'm the kind of guy that what you see is what you get, so as we got going there, we were just going the wrong direction to have much more to say, and you adapted extremely well, so you made me feel welcome, and you made me feel that you at least respected me enough to conduct the interview. And as you see, I wasn't dodging anything. I just think that getting into putting people down.
No, we're not a Howard Stern smut show. We don't like to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I just didn't want to start putting them down, and it was getting in that tone. And then I'm not going to answer to all these guys that don't have their own answers.
Right.
So that's their problem, not mine.
Thank you so much. We wish you the best.
Bye.
Take care of yourself.
Interesting. He sounds like, very, I don't know how this is sort of like FDR-like type, like, hey, sit down and fireside chat. Let me talk to you about life. And he's wearing a cowboy hat.
I'm going to sit back and let Benny go on a rant. Just to start out, though, I disagree with just about everything Ben's going to say. I like the guy. I really do.
He's like a teapot right now. And all of a sudden,
he's short and stout.
How did everybody on the? I'd like to know how the board reacted to what I wrote up there. It's got to be hard for me to go on a rant about the man without saying something that I might regret. But Bill Watts, as a businessman, I do not discredit his religion. I do not like the fact that he hides behind it as an excuse. You can hear this in the full interview too. it seems like, he goes with this opinion that he is he's the pioneer behind this stuff, when in fact he may have made some money, but those years in WCW, James, you have to admit, were abysmal.
They were pretty bad. I disagree with it. Now, I made the point during the interview off the air with me and you. I was a fan of wrestling since, I don't know, 86, 87, 88, something of that nature. I was real young when I started. And I always watched NWA, NWA became WCW, and I thought, oh, this is pretty good, but, it's a secondary company, WWF's #1. That's what I always thought. That was never driven home harder than in the early 90s when Watts was in charge. And that's not a shot on Bill. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There's a lot of circumstances that probably go along with that, but I did not particularly like the product from 92 and 93.
It didn't really get interesting until about maybe 95, 96 when all these wrestlers started coming over. 94.
Oh, yeah.
That's when the WCW really became interesting.
Yes.
Because you had that ability to say, oh my God, he can't do that. Well, he just did. Hulk Hogan can't become a heel. He just did.
Yeah.
That's when it was great. What happened, like we said, we were talking about a while back, what happened was, it got too big for itself, in a way.
You guys, we got to go to break. When we come back, we'll discuss a little bit more of this, and we have Patrick Kelly on the line to discuss with us. Patrick, are you there right now, though, just real quick?
I am here.
Okay.
Right, so
the Green Meanie.
The Green
Yay!
We will have the Green Meanie.
Yay!
More Bill Watts.
I got mail.
You're terrible. We're going to talk about more about this. We got SoCal Val later. We got Raven later. We got a jam-packed show right here on the Blaze, 1260 AM.
It wasn't my fault.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Epicenter on the Blaze, 1260 AM. We just got done with the Bill Watts interview in which Mania nearly punched the glass of the penalty box. And Patrick Kelly's on the line right now, the Green Media himself.
Howdy, howdy. What's up, everybody?
¿Cómo están?
What?
Never mind.
You can say it.
I can say it.
You can say.
I'm trying to
I'm giving you permission to say it, but I would just not use it too often. You know what he's about to say.
Well, I have my one.
I don't know what he was about to say.
It's the line from Anchorman. ¿Cómo están, bitches?
Yeah,
okay.
That's fine.
That's fine. That's my one B word used for the entire 2-hour block. So Patrick Kelly, how's
I
it
used
going?
mine in the first 10 minutes.
I'm doing good, guys.
Doing good?
Hey, what
Doug,
y'all
did I get
talking
the
about?
scream bitch one time?
You're done now.
That's
okay,
it.
Great.
Okay, we're all three of us at the B word one night.
Patrick, you're not allowed to say it at all. You've already violated a couple rules on this program.
A couple times.
I thought y'all forgot about that.
No, we don't. We have two.
Okay.
I have.
Further discussion right now on Bill Watts, because I'd love to discuss this a little bit more.
He'd love to.
You're just mad because he asked how old you were.
I am mad about that.
Yes,
I'm not mad about he asked me how old I am. In case you are wondering on the boards, in case my wrestling knowledge is not up to what you think it should be, I don't care if you're a critic or a fan of mine. I really don't. Here's what I'm going to tell you right now. I am 18.
3, 2, 1. Yeah,
I
he
am
is
18.
He is 18. Believe it or
I am
not.
an 18-year-old kid who came in here and fell into a nice position and ended up doing well with it and enjoying it.
Which he does.
However, I will say this as something else just got posted on the. That's really not good.
You can actually hear that.
Immediate response. I heard it in my headphones.
They're just like, dough.
I am 18. Bill Watts asked me if I was 18, and then you know what he went and did? He explained to me what the difference is between a face and a heel.
Oh, look at the cute little baby. Where's your mommy?
This guy. I already had a lot of things to hate him about, and I will take it back. Fritz Von Erich is way crazier than Bill Watts, but Bill Watts is second in Crazy Daddies.
Well, Fritz Von Erich was a Nazi, so...
Yeah, it's true.
Literally.
Bill Watts is more of like a cowboy.
Let me put it this way. They're all oppressing something, aren't they? Let me put it this way about Bill Watts.
No blacks, no Jews.
If you are... You're sad mad.
Family Guy joke.
If you are worse than Vince McMahon Jr., Vincent Kennedy McMahon, in being a crazy father, and you are higher on that list, you have some problems. I do not...
What is it with wrestling promoters? It seems like they're all crazy when it comes to their kids.
No, there's one person who isn't crazy as a wrestling promoter. I will say this, Eric Bischoff.
No, Bischoff is actually...
Kids.
No.
Yes, he does. He has kids who actually went to ASU.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Holy crap.
Tell everyone to interview their father.
Yeah. I heard
He's the only
again.
one that never pushes kids.
Whoa, hold on. Bischoff has kids on here?
Bischoff has kids. They did.
Does he have
I can't confirm, but I know he has a home in
any
Winslow.
Does he have any daughters on campus?
Yes, they are his daughters.
Ooh, giggity, giggity.
No.
Damn it.
Just no. Eric Bischoff took that company, and if you watch the Monday Night War DVD, you can actually see basic footage of this. Or if you watch any WCW from 1990 to 1990, I'm going to be nice and say about 93 when Bischoff first really took over, and then compare it to the WCW of 95 and 96. It's not just Hulk Hogan coming in. It's not just those guys. You see a massive change in both production and quality. Bill Watts may have made some money and may have had some ideas that were so insane ahead of his time. The problem was he didn't apply them well at all. This jumping off the top rope crap is especially what annoys me.
You got to look back at
That made me so mad.
Yeah, you got to look back at the UWF days, though.
Boy, UWF was classic stuff.
That was great stuff, and that was all Bill Watts.
It was once UWF was good, but UWF wasn't a national product.
No.
It was once he got to the point where he really needed to show his skills that he completely screwed himself, the audience, and anyone else involved, including, of course, his son again. I bring that up because anyone who remembers early 90s WCW remembers a kid named Eric Watts, who, nothing against Eric Watts, wasn't the greatest wrestler, wasn't the greatest, he wasn't the greatest sell. I'll put it that way.
I remember I saw Clash of the Champions, just watched it the other day, because I've been bored lately, and I've been literally nostalgic for old school wrestling. So I've been watching a lot of old stuff. I watched Clash of the Champions, I believe it was 24, and I'm watching this thing, and
Just throw out a random Clash of the Champions.
Yes, Eric Watts came out, and the crowd started chanting, "Eric Watts sucks," and he was supposed to be the babyface.
Kind of John Cena effect?
Well,
That's ahead of its time.
A lot of people blame Dusty Rhodes, for pushing his own kid to a main event status or something like that, and in Vince McMahon's status, ironically, Shane McMahon and Triple H now, but that's not really the point. It's not here nor there. A lot of people blame Dusty Rhodes for making some poor booking decisions, and then Kevin Nash later when he had WCW pushing his own guys to the top.
That was great.
That could all be channeled back to the precedent setter in that Bill Watts. Eric Watts was an okay wrestler, but he is in no way, shape, or form main event material.
No.
And putting it in the
Vern
main
Gagne was the first one to push his kid.
Yeah, Vern Gagne with Greg Gagne. Thank you.
Bobby Heenan made the greatest call of all time. He did a shoot interview, and somebody said, do you think Vern pushed Greg too hard? And he said, no, he should have pushed him harder. Should have pushed him right off the cliff.
That's Heenan.
You made a point about Dusty and his boy, and he really, the character Goldust really did well on taking advantage of that aspect of it and made it something entertaining, though.
That was not Dusty, though, pushing it. But yeah, Goldust was one of the weirdest characters ever developed, and yet it's still great. And I'm
it's still great.
It's still there.
But that's an example of how that lifestyle got pushed and he turned it into something much better.
If you'd like to read more about my rant on Bill Watts,
please check out.
What
other random plug is this, man?
You know what? I'm not going to randomly plug. I'm just going to tell you if you really want to know more about this interview, listen to the entire interview.
Yes, and I'm also going to give you the ability, since you're going to be going away for the summer, to write your own editorials if you want. If you want to write an editorial on this, I'd love to read it.
I might do that.
I think I'd laugh.
On this particular interview.
Can we call it the Benya Blab?
Yeah, I'll become the target of warfare between me and Bill Watts.
Well, I actually want to put over a great idea. They were trying to come up with names for the show starting in the fall, and he said, how about we call it the Killer Bees of Wrestling?
That was Chris Ferguson who gave that idea.
Yeah. That's a great name. Unfortunately,
I'm gone next semester, so
yes.
Unless I decide to go for another degree, no.
I would not like to change the name of the show a couple of times. Right now it is, if in case you're wondering about the future, James and I and Brendan, we all sat down, talked about this, because Brendan will be around for another semester of the show.
And then I'll be hired by Arizona State University.
And then Brendan will be gone, and that'll leave me for approximately 2.5 years if I want to keep continuing with it. And I have prospects, by the way. There might actually be a woman on the show.
Yeah, believe it or not. Is she hot?
Whoa.
Whoa.
Wrestling Epicenter gets a diva.
Yeah,
Whoa.
Exactly, yeah.
A knockout or whatever.
The name, I've read the boards of what you guys have said. And once again, this goes back to the whole thing. I don't think, regardless of what direction the show goes, that the name Wrestling Epicenter will be on it past the summer.
Yeah.
That's James' name.
James' name, not Brendan's name. We'll
Right.
think of something very clever over the summer.
Make sure, Chris Ferguson, if you're on the boards, make sure to tell him what I wanted to name the show, and then why that's not going to work.
Because
I can't say it over the air.
I can't say it either, but I just don't think it's going to work.
I think it's a great name, personally.
It is a good name, but still.
It's a better name than Workshed.
Workshed?
Wrestling Workshed.
That sounds very homoerotic, if you don't mind me saying.
You sound very homoerotic.
Sometimes.
Sexy. Ooh. Pwned!
Pwned. Moving on now.
Wow.
Who used to host this old house?
Bob Vila.
There we go. For some reason, the workshed reminds me of that.
Since we're talking about wrestling promoters, I'm deciding to go out of order on this one.
Out of order.
Out of order intentionally. We got a couple minutes to
There's an order?
There was an order. There's
it's
a
called a
script. What?
Patrick Kelly, in the world of radio, we have something called the rundown.
Real to me, damn it!
It's kind of like a Bible. We go by it every day. But however, for today,
I'm
going to
skip this one and talk about this. We've got 2 or 3 minutes to talk about this real quick before we go to break.
Yes.
And then we'll talk about it a little more.
Go.
After break. Jim Cornette
to TNA.
To TNA.
Awesome.
Yes.
In one of the few news wrestling stories worth mentioning this week, and there are more. We haven't even mentioned one of them, and I don't want it to be said. I do not want you to even say.
I won't say it.
Don't say it. Big brawl. Don't say it. Fight in the WWE locker room. But you keep your mouth shut too.
Did he use his tennis racket?
Not Jim Cornette. Although Cornette is notorious for doing that. That's what got him fired, technically. But
when did he get let go from WWE? I don't even remember hearing about this.
That was last summer, part of the big cuts, and it was partially because of the hitting with the tennis racket.
Well, it's ironic, though, because when TNA first started, one of the guys who was going to be a big part of the company backstage was Ed Ferrara.
Ooh, yeah.
And
good old Ed Ferrara.
Yeah, and what happened was...
Pinata!
What?
Wow. Pinata! Hoovy! Oh!
No.
Candy!
One of the most... I'm sorry, I hate Oklahoma.
I thought
that was terrible.
Oh, you would. WWE marks always were like, oh, that's so offensive.
I am not a WWE mark by...
It was just
in that
lame,
sense.
man.
I am a WWE mark, but I'm not a WWE mark by that. What upset me was that they made fun of Jim Ross.
Yeah, if they didn't make fun of the Bell's palsy, I thought it would be hysterical.
Yeah, if they didn't do that, but they made fun of the Bell's palsy pretty bad, and
that's what turned me off. Cornette's role? We don't know this. What is Cornette's role in TNA?
So far,
I heard he's going to be the new authority figure that's going to take over on TV. I don't know.
So
what
he's not actually going to be writing anything. He's just going to appear.
That's what I
Is he a
think.
consultant or what? Because he has to be doing something more than just being on television. Otherwise, it's a waste of money.
So wait, hold on. We've got Jim Cornette. We've got Jeff Jarrett. We have Scott Steiner. What the hell generation? We have Sting. What?
This sounds like good old WCW, man.
Allow me to question TNA.
Well, we also have AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels.
There you
Patrick.
go, Patrick.
Thank you.
You guys.
We have, but I mean, I love Cornette's on-air personality. I think they need to keep it around more often, just because he was great when he did it in WWF, WWE.
He was?
He was.
I don't remember him
Oh
being
man, when
good.
he was a manager, he was great.
Did you not
He had
remember?
like Camp Cornette or whatever that was.
Yeah.
He reminds me of that giant chicken on Looney Tunes.
When he was trying to keep Vader and Yokozuna from killing each other, it was great.
Yeah.
More importantly, a year later, and you can find one of these, he did, I believe, 3 shoots.
Those were the stupidest thing ever.
No, they weren't.
Oh, I don't like the WCW. I don't like the WCW because they're trying to act like teenagers. Oh, yeah, Jim? What are you doing standing out there like a jackass in a fluorescent freaking leisure suit
That
holding a
is not
tennis
true.
racket? What are you trying to act
Both
like?
Companies. He beat up both
Mr.
companies.
Furley.
Monday Night War DVD. You go watch the one promo on that one of, I believe, the 3 that he cut, and you will see he ragged on both companies, and he also praised both, particularly Ric Flair, your boy who you don't like.
I don't ever remember him ranting on Ric Flair. I do remember
Ranting
his
about
rant
how
on
Ric
Kevin
Flair's
Nash.
Ooh.
And the Nash one I thought was really uncalled for and stupid.
What did he say about Nash?
He said he was a 40-year-old trying to act 12.
I agree.
12? That's a little bit
I think
low.
Nash is a
What's Ric
50-year-old
Flair?
trying to do that now.
Ric Flair's a 60-year-old trying to act like he's 18.
Ric Flair's not doing it by choice.
He's doing it because he has
You sure about that?
Yeah?
Yeah. Ric Flair is portraying a character which he adopted years ago when he was still young. And to be fair, he's not doing it by choice. Do you understand how much back taxes this man has to pay off? I'm defending Ric Flair because all he's doing is his job and you're criticizing him for
He
it.
did a damn good job still back in January.
Make me
It's just
a
little
better
weird.
churro.
It's a little weird to be seeing a 60-year-old man going out there and strutting like he's God's gift to women.
I think it's great.
He
The
still
minute
probably
he
does
started
get
crotch
chicks, though,
thrusting
man.
to Lita during the live sex scene, Ric
Oh, my
Flair
God.
got back into my wonderful array. Right now, though, Patrick, would you like to stay on for one more segment?
Because we got to
Actually,
run the
Chris
break.
Ferguson wanted to call in, so I'll get
But I
on.
told him I
Okay,
wasn't
Pat.
going to answer. No, I'll answer.
We don't have caller ID, man.
Patrick,
Come
we're
on.
going to let you go, man.
Adios, Patrick.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. Call in later if you want.
Excellent.
And thank you for monitoring the chat room.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Muchas
Hey,
gracias,
Mark,
senor.
Except for me ranting on Bill Watts, no one's causing trouble.
No, of course not.
All
real
right.
quickly before we go to break, Eric Schonberg, if you're out there, send me a PM. I want you writing editorials. That said, we'll be back in just a minute with more. We'll have SoCal Val and, of course, Raven just after the break. Keep it locked right here to the Blaze, 1260 AM.
This summer, one man or another guy in the band will make another show happen between 7 and 8 o'clock p.m.
This is Paul Burchill, my
know.
This is swinging music.
Welcome back to
greatest
Wrestling
wrestling
Epicenter.
entrance ever.
I just feel like taking like a sword right now and like sword fighting with James.
Brendan is thinking out loud again.
He is thinking out loud again.
But let's talk about a man who looks like. Here's my worst segue in the world. Let's talk about a man who looks like Paul Burchill. His name is Raven.
Oh man.
Except that Burchill doesn't look bloated.
You know, crap. Did he? Was my even part of the interview even on there yet?
Yes.
Okay, because I was wondering, and then
This interview is 7 minutes long. What we have of it.
dude,
Listen to the full
some of the
version.
guys who were asking questions on that were like, they asked like 4 open-ended questions. With Raven, you asked 1 open-ended question. He'll go on for 10 minutes.
Well, actually, I cut myself short.
Yeah, I'm
And
surprised.
This is no shot to Patrick, because Patrick did a phenomenal job, but I think Patrick got like 13 minutes with him.
Yeah, you did, Patrick.
And it's a teleconference, so like it was only supposed to go an hour. So by
How
the
are you, Patrick?
I think
Oh.
like after the second time
I
he
just
said,
didn't want to get in trouble, that's all. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'll ask him 3 questions, and 2 of them didn't even involve TNA, which he called me on, but it's pretty cool.
yeah, it's good. So how about we play the interview? Get it going.
Play the interview. This is if it's correct. If it's not, I will switch to it as fast as possible.
You better.
I believe it's track 3.
You said it was track 2 last time.
Try track 2 then.
Well, that's wonderful.
How about we just take it?
It should start out with Patrick, and why did I just do the Tigger voice?
Wait 2 seconds, and if
'Cause
it's
you're
not,
high.
you're getting a sample of SoCal Val.
3, 2, 1, initiate.
What up, Raven? How you doing today? Good one. Okay, that's your question. Next. Thanks. Thanks for taking the time to answer these questions. First thing I want to ask you is, how does it feel to be back on TNA? I love it. You know, it's funny. I really, you know, you do this so many years, you can get dated, you can get a little, I don't know, you can get a little buried out, whatever. And it really worked out well for me because I've never really taken a vacation ever, and so sitting home for 10 weeks, really reminded me why I love the business, what I miss about it, and really recharging my batteries because, I mean, let's face it, you know, we're the only job that goes year-round, you know, unended, and really, there's, you know, unless you get an injury, you don't go home. So I've never really had a vacation where, you know, I wasn't injured or so, of some capacity. So I want friends go, what are you going to do for your vacation? I go, nothing. I'm going to sit home and lay in bed and watch TV for 10 weeks. So I've had a few health issues too, so gave me a chance to get to work on them and you know, stuff like that. Alrighty, next question I have is, what do you think of Impact's move to Thursday nights? I think it's a great idea. I'm also a big fan of the 11 o'clock because I think we're still a growing company. I think every time we change from one station to another, I mean, the company grows, it changes a little bit, and I'm a big proponent of crawling and then walking before running. So I don't have any problem with being on at 11. In fact, I'm glad we were. You know, I was actually, when they switched it, it originally was going to be 10 o'clock and they made it to 11. And I think it's a much better place because it shows that they want to. See, I think people always dwell on the negative. I think people started thinking, well, you know, maybe they don't have the faith in me. I think it shows they totally have faith in us because they want us to, they want to nurture us. They want to let us grow. They want to let us build instead of going out there in prime time and, you know, possibly not scoring like we need to. You know, plus they gave us a great lead-in with the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, so I think if anything, it's a vote of confidence.
All right, I got a question for you about the ECW thing that Vince McMahon is doing, first of all. First of all, let me pick your brain, because I know that you are one of the wrestling geniuses. What is your initial take on what they're trying to do up there?
Oh, Ross Foreman, you hear that? I'm one of the wrestling geniuses. Not a wrestling genius, the wrestling genius.
There's not too many of us.
All right, I want to point that out to my good friend Ross Foreman. What's the question?
The question is, what is your take on what Vince McMahon is doing up there with the idea of bringing back ECW?
Well, I think it comes down to this. People, and this is a very touchy subject to me, people, I hate that people, this goes back to the last question, I hate that people lump in ECW as hardcore or light heavyweights or this or that or whatever. It wasn't that at all. Those were elements, those were symptoms of a greater. The problem with the business at the time, the business had become very plain, it had become very stock, there was nothing new, and also wrestlers tended to be the same people in the same business for years, and they don't go to clubs, or they didn't go to clubs, so you had no influx of new people, new ideas, new things, new thoughts, new clothing, and it lost, wrestling before ECW had lost its style. It wasn't something hip, it wasn't something hot, it wasn't something on the cultural touchstone. And ECW, because of Paulie and others, we made it hip again. We made wrestling something cool, something cutting edge, something alternative. And just like how music needed to be woken and shooken up, from the dead, so did, and it's like the Matrix did for action movies. I mean, that's what ECW did for wrestling business. And to lump it as, it irritates me because people get a shortcut and explain it by saying, wow, it was hardcore, it was this. No, that was just the tip of the iceberg. This was a revolution. They changed the way you looked at wrestling. And I think to do it again, first of all, there's only a few people in the wrestling business who I think have the creativity. And to be a great booker, you have to understand the business, but you also understand, to be a booker in 2006, you have to understand current trends, fashions, and styles, because you want to appeal to the young consumer, the 15 to 35-year-old. And so it doesn't matter that Paulie's, whatever age he is, Paulie keeps his fingers on America's pulse, as I try to do as well. So, I mean, I don't think, I think I'll always, I think I'll always be perceived as a hip, cool, cutting-edge character. At least I hope that. I mean, if I'm wrong, I could be. But the point is if they're going to make it successful, is they're going to have to use the old guys to establish something, then use all new guys to create a whole new revolution once again. Because you can't recreate the revolution. I mean, the America rebelled in 1776, and then we fought a whole new war in 1812. If we'd have fought the same war in 1812, we never would have, you know what I mean? Yeah. You can't have the revolution, you can't have a revolution with a bunch of guys that are past the revolutionary age. It's not the age, but the revolutionary. What I'm saying is if they're no longer cutting edge, because we've seen them for 10 years, unless they reinvent themselves, as I try to do, you can't make a revolution, and make something brand new out of guys that have been doing the same thing for 10 years. Yeah. So I think Paulie's smart enough to know that. So I think if he's going to do it can't be a nostalgia tour. It's got to be Paulie taking a whole bunch of new guys you never heard of and putting together a whole bunch of new acts and using the guys that were there before to get them over, and then creating a whole new revolution.
Who's one guy in the locker room that stands out in the TNA locker room?
Samoa Joe, because he's so fat.
You think he's going Atkins?
What's that?
You think Samoa Joe should go on Atkins? I mean, he has a weight issue. Why not?
Do I think he should what?
Go on Atkins.
Go on what? Atkins? No, of course not. No, I think Joe's phenomenal. I think he's a guy with a talent. And, he's just a word ass.
Now, earlier you said that 2 hours may be too long. Frankly, I watch Raw on Monday nights, and by hour one, I'm pretty much asleep or doing something else.
Yeah.
That's one thing I really agreed on. But what's it really going to take to make wrestling cool yet? I mean,
same thing I said before. It's got to be stylish. It's got to be young. It's got to be hip. It's got to appeal to it's got to be the hot thing. You know what I mean? When Rolling Stone magazine anoints you as the hot thing, is one of the hot things, and you're right where you need to be. When Entertainment Weekly says this is a new hot thing,
Exactly. Okay, one last question, man. Do you think we'll ever see like a professional wrestling union?
God, I hope so.
Wow. One answer. God, I hope so.
He completely lost me when he started talking about wars, and then my interest was piqued again when I heard a loud computer bong noise. Right now, though, we have a familiar voice on the line. I'm not going to introduce this voice. I'm just going to let him introduce himself.
Mr. No, sorry. Mr. Chris Ferguson, see?
Mr. Ferguson!
Mr. Ferguson, ¿cómo estás?
Oh, you gotta hold on for it. Ferguson.
Yeah.
Ferguson. You forgot to do the last part. Mr. Kennedy.
What?
Mr. Ferguson.
You want that?
What the hell just happened right now?
Just waste time.
James, what crappy inside joke that you and Chris have?
It's not a crappy inside joke. He didn't. What happened was it's a miscommunication.
I didn't finish it. That's the problem.
Mr. Kennedy does his own ring announcer, like a boxer.
Yeah.
He hails from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Tonight, I weigh in at 236 pounds. Mr. Kennedy!
What the?
Kennedy!
There we go. Much better execution than what James just pulled off right now.
That felt good right there.
Hey, Raven, you think Samoa Joe should go on Atkins? You think Samoa Joe should go on Atkins? You think Samoa Joe should go on Atkins? You think Samoa Joe should go on Atkins?
Shut up!
How many times do I have to repeat myself? I know I have T-Mobile, and it's not the greatest of service sometimes. But I'm like, am I even talking right? Am I hot? Actually, I probably was high at the moment, but still.
And we're off the air.
And we're off the air.
No.
Oh, great.
Oh, Lord.
No. It's what threw me off. But, I mean, he kind of just was like, you ask him any professional wrestler you ask about a union that is working, and they're just like, oh, yeah, good idea. Why is that, James?
Well,
you're the man about this.
Yeah, I
Tell
think
us.
we had a discussion about this in the parking lot last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever the hell it was.
Yeah.
I was talking about Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper used to always try to start a union way back when. He used to actually draw little pictures about. One of the cartoons he drew was called "You Eff'em Us'em, Me Perbum Unum," which apparently is Latin for something.
Me Perbum Unum. That's probably
look it up
out of anyone.
Yes, but the Eff'em Us'em was supposed to be the part where he was the promoter and he was holding a championship belt and a wrestler by the testicles.
Ooh.
Yes.
Me Perbum Unum. That's it's in the back of a quarter.
Yes, and that's what he was talking about. He was trying to.
It's E pluribus unum.
E pluribus unum. Yeah, there we go.
What does that mean?
Out of many, one.
One out of many.
Or one out of many, something like that.
The same for barbecue pal.
Brendan says the damn thing backwards.
Well, Latin is kind of backwards.
You're stupid.
Your mother.
No, that's Pig Latin.
My mother's a saint. Oh.
What was that from?
By the way, in the chat room, they just gave you applause for your impersonation of Kennedy, Benya.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
That was amazing, actually.
I'm here till 10 o'clock, officially.
Yes, 55 minutes left to do that again.
Don't forget to tip your waitresses.
I just had a newsflash. Idea. Newsflash in my head. An idea.
This is about the current topic we're discussing.
This is not about the current topic we're discussing.
Ben's going through the change.
I will hawk it once we go to our next break, which is about 2 minutes away. But
yes.
Let's talk real quick
about
this. Is there going to be, professional wrestling union? Let's be honest. ECW, WCW folds. The closest thing we had to a union was just WWE by itself, and it was interesting.
Here's one way of looking at it. So long as Vince McMahon Jr. is still alive, you will never see a wrestling union.
That's probably right. I mean, Roddy Piper, like I said, got blackballed 3 different times for trying to start a union. And he did a video in 2001, and he was going to try to use the Wrestling Hall of Fame, which is the un-WWE WW Hall of Fame. It's where all the legends go. It's called the Cauliflower Alley Club. And his idea, because the cauliflower ears, obviously. His idea was, I'm going to use this, and we're going to make this wrestling's union. And he cited somebody like Johnny Valentine, who was Greg the Hammer Valentine's father, who went through a lot of health problems and could not afford to pay the hospital bills. So he wanted to do something for him to say, okay, we're going to take care of you. We're going to do a wrestler's hospital. Kind of like Patch Adams.
And also kind of like a Vietnam vet hospital.
Yeah.
Basically.
Before we go to break, let's ask Chris, our buddy on the line here. Chris, your thoughts?
About a wrestling union?
Yeah.
A wrestling union before we go to break.
Well, it's not going to happen with Vince around. It's already been said. You know?
Yeah.
I hope it does, but it's not.
We get Chris on the line, and he's a mute.
He's a man of few words, but they're very, very to the point.
By the way, I was watching an old episode of Nitro.
I'm sorry.
Huh?
He said he doesn't like to interrupt people.
And you interrupt him.
Yes, I know. I was watching an old episode of Nitro, and Ric Flair was cutting a promo.
Boy.
Cutting a promo about how great Chris Benoit was, and his phrase for him was silent but deadly.
That's not even worthy of a song. It's too good. We should probably take a break.
Ric Flair, do you know what that means?
Obviously, the man knows what it means. He's old, remember?
Oh, man.
We're going to take a
We'll
break.
take a small break, yeah.
Chris, would you like to stay on with us?
Sure, why not?
Awesome.
All right. Chris is going to stay on with us for another thing, which is why I'm cutting his mic right now. Sorry, Chris. I had to do it.
But you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
You're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
On the Blaze.
After the break, we've got SoCal Val. We're going to talk about the TNA pay-per-view coming up, and just added to the lineup because I have the power back here and I can do it.
What did he do?
Since I brought it into the studio. For the first time ever, you will hear in its entirety, the entire 4 minutes, coming out at the end of the month, The King of Kings. I have it here. I will play the entire song for you. How about that?
Sounds great.
How's that?
On your knees, dog.
Right here on the Wrestling Epicenter, only on the Blaze, 1260 AM.
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
Hi, I'm Brendan Brooks, and I'm one of the new hosts of the Wrestling Epicenter. It's my job to give you the expert opinion and advice from the world of wrestling. Join me, James Walsh, Ben Venia, and of course, the Queen of Extreme, Francine. So join us every Wednesday nights, 8:30 to 10 o'clock, only on the Blaze, 1260 AM.
So what you gonna do when Hulk Hogan in Place of Mania runs wild on you?
The Blaze, 1260 AM, 7 huge watts of raw radio power. Hey, it's not the size of your tower, it's how you use it.
Hello, Blaze.
The Blaze, 1260 AM, Arizona State's original alternative.
Midway Chevrolet would like to remind us that drunk driving is now the leading cause of death among young people 15 to 24 years of age. Each and every day, 14 teenagers die from drunk driving accidents. Parents, please talk to your kids tonight about the dangers of drinking and driving. You may save their life and perhaps your own. Brought to you by Midway Chevrolet in Phoenix. For information, they can be reached at 602-866-0102, or you can visit their website at www.midwaychev.com. On the air because they care about the people in this community.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Episode of the Blaze.
We're doing a little Atkins whatever workout here.
Jazzercise. Believe it or not, James Walsh was
James
actually
is doing jumping jacks.
jumping jacks. For Christ's sakes, James, what the hell?
Chris, you still with us?
Are you alive, buddy? Come
We
on.
need video of that, because that's the
I wish we
That
had it,
was the
because
sickest
seriously,
thing I've ever seen.
I'm doing like some weird, like, you know, on Beavis and Butthead when Butthead would do like the little like
Weird dance.
the hump dance thing. I was kind of doing that, and all of a sudden James starts freaking doing jumping jacks.
Hey, it's Simon Dean. He's the health guy.
He's a health guy, you know.
I was reminded of 5th grade gym class.
Maybe we do jump jacks, or I don't know. Oh,
I used to always want to climb up that rope and then just fall.
you want to take a bump?
Yeah, I wanted to. They had those like crash pads that were 10 feet thick, so I was like, okay, let me go up to the roof here, and it was.
I have decided it is time to talk about wrestling.
It's beta time.
Let's talk about. It's time to talk about ECW. We've been avoiding this topic for a while.
Oh, Francine, how we miss you so much.
Yes, we do.
However,
Look what we've become.
However,
what's this Wii crap?
You're the glue that holds us together, babe.
He's actually talking
Come
about
back,
the
please.
Nintendo's Wii, but still, never mind.
Yes, by the way, I hate that name. Revolution is so much better.
That was the code name. No, you can hate that name. This is not a Nintendo show, but it's going to be great for marketing. I guarantee you will not only see We Will Wish You a Merry Christmas, but We Will Rock You.
and also, dude, let's go hit up the Wii right now. Yeah, the Wii.
We built this city.
On rock and roll.
I hate that song so
freaking much, man. Back to the.
It's like that gnome commercial. The roulette table is not a ride.
Whoever's doing that right now.
What?
Benya.
Someone needs to Hassan, whoever's doing that right now. Hassan,
You can't Hassan Benya. I don't have control of that. There we go.
there we go.
Back to the. Damn it.
Contrary to popular belief, we are not drinking at the studio today.
We do not talk about it.
It is our last show. We've got 2 hours to really kind of let loose in a way.
Which is why we're going to talk about ECW.
ECW.
On the list of signees.
How about we read this?
Francine.
Sandman.
C.W. Anderson.
Balls Mahoney.
Who in almost every publication ever written about him, including PWI, they refer to him as B. Mahoney. I guess they're afraid to write the word ball. It's true.
Well, with Dimebag Darrell, they refer him as Diamond Darrell.
Yeah, that's...
With the exception of Guitar World.
From Nutley, New Jersey.
Also signed as Sabu. A couple of the names not listed here, just off the top of my head, who will be coming back. Of course, you know, Al Snow, Tommy Dreamer, Rob Van Dam.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the big ones that we can name immediately. Who else did they sign? They signed Jazz.
Yes, they did.
I
I'm
know
glad
that
to see
for a
that.
fact. Somebody, come on, somebody help me here. Who else did they sign? Chris?
I don't remember.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few words tonight, Chris.
Rely on you for 30 other things in my life, but can't get that.
Let's see.
Well, the music should be enough, damn it. What?
Well, there's also the report that New Jack
Yes.
is signing with them, but he's going to deny that claim, and I think WWE, due to the liability that he would become, should deny that claim as well. Because that'll be like an uproar. That'll be like WWE has re-signed Vince Russo. Oh, hell no! WWE has come to terms on the release of Vince Russo.
2 days later.
Thanks for stopping by.
A nice pat in the back thing.
We also saw the building blocks have been put up in the last couple of weeks. We've got Joey Styles coming as I turn my mic accurately to me. Joey Styles quits after the best promo in wrestling in nearly a year, and I will liken it to something I was talking about earlier, which is the best Raw I've seen in the last year. You know what the best Raw I saw in the last year was? It was last year. It was the first night of the draft lottery because Cena comes over to Raw in this big, when he was still popular, in this big thing, and then the end of Raw that night is ECW storms the ring, beats the crap out of the WWE guys, and Heyman starts cutting a promo about what they're going to do.
Because we always love to say a company that shut down and has been dead for 5 years can still beat up our product because we're so good.
Exactly.
I hated that.
I thought it was great.
It was nice. It's good for fanboys.
I'm sorry if that's what you hate. I'll talk about hating other things later, like Bill Watts.
Ooh.
Oh!
You'll spend 20 years hating Bill Watts.
I will spend my entire lifetime, which is apparently not long enough to
Oh, come on, Ben. How old are you?
Jesus forgives.
Shut up. You shut up over there. ECW is also, you've got the Joey Styles quitting on the promo. You got Mick Foley and Edge now teaming up against Tommy Dreamer this past week on Raw.
Which got over like a fart in church.
Ooh.
That line was funny.
Seriously, nobody cared, man.
Will anybody care about the new ECW, though? This is not old ECW. This is a new ECW.
Yes.
If they do shows on the East Coast, out here in California, we only got a couple of house shows and one pay-per-view, but that was it.
Yeah, and that one resulted in a giant gang war.
And don't forget, California was also the home of XPW.
That's what the gang war was with.
The gang war with.
We actually talked to C.W. Anderson about that yesterday. Apparently, he was slapping the crap out of some XPW guys at that show.
Ooh.
Another guy who I just remembered denied signing was Chris Chetty.
Not good. He should stay out of business.
Axel Rotten did sign a contract. I know this for a fact. I know Danny Doring signed a contract.
Good. I like Danny.
And Tony Mamaluke signed one as well.
Sheesh.
Oh, I like Tony.
And Roadkill's with OVW, so he's probably going to be the
angry Amish chicken plucker. Anyone who denies that Roadkill is great and that Danny Doring, that tag team, was great, anybody who denies that is stupid. What is Mick Foley's role going to be in the new ECW?
Putting everybody over?
I don't think he's going to wrestle.
No,
I think
he's
Mick
not.
Foley's role is going to be as a GM commissioner type character.
They'll occasionally
They
wear
seem
the
to be sold on doing those.
I don't think he's going to be in it. I think he's going to play the role of anti-ECW. Why else would he team up with Edge?
I don't know.
Could have somebody facing him, man.
Because it's compelling television. That's too bad. I was looking forward to watching Edge and Foley again. That was like the match at WrestleMania. That was a really good match at WrestleMania. Well, a lot of good matches, but
I felt bad for Tommy. I mean, the crowd just didn't care.
yeah.
Where were they, anyway?
Well,
Does anybody know?
Anaheim. They were in Anaheim.
Oh, okay.
So the crowd's allowed not to care. Well, to be fair, that crowd the entire night, though the Arrowhead Pond, which I've seen an event in, is a beautiful arena. I love it there.
I like the name.
The Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim.
Of Anaheim.
Let me put it this way to you. Here's historical facts for you that are tied in. In Anaheim, at the Arrowhead Pond, they don't care about anything right now except for hockey. And by the way, if you're one of my favorite people who is listening in Colorado, since I despise the Avalanche as much as I do, what Brendan is doing right now, quack.
Quack, quack,
quack, quack,
quack,
quack.
Go Ducks! Sorry, I love that movie so much.
Make him make the first move, Conway. That is also available on. That is the headline on my MySpace, www.myspace.com/Devenia. So everyone visit.
Was it a quarter of an inch off? I think what it was.
If it had gone, another quarter of an inch right, you would have missed the net completely.
Ooh.
There's a thought.
There's
anyway, back to the
Emilio.
Emilio. Hey, if they get to the if they get to the finals, man, you might see.
I watched that movie at like 3 in the morning last night.
That movie's great.
Were you high?
Night at the Roxbury.
Yes.
Anyway,
No, I was not.
Back to the point. Boy,
you
we're not.
You don't do that stuff.
We're not off on a tangent at all.
Not really.
ECW's return. What are they going to do with this? Rob Van Dam's supposed to be the poster boy of ECW, the new ECW.
Rob Van Dam, if we can't give you the real WWE belts, we'll give you an ECW one instead.
We're gonna. What did I say earlier? We're gonna. Rob Van Dam. Here's the conference Vince had with him. Well, Rob,
You're not good enough to hold my WWE title, even though you're more talented than some of the champions I've had in the past, including myself, for a day.
And popular.
You may be more popular and more talented than some of the champions.
I'm RVD, man.
But Rob,
RVD.
that's not really what we're looking at.
But
right now,
I'm really put over the crowd.
It's
I'm better than
okay,
John Cena.
Rob. It's okay because
come on, I'm John Cena. I'm much better than John Cena is.
No, you're not. See, because
the internet loves me. The internet loves me.
Well, Rob, we're not of the mindset that the internet is going to get behind you on this. We prefer keeping you in the Intercontinental title slot.
They're your most loyal fans.
I'll make you a deal, Rob.
Okay.
I'll make you a deal.
Okay, what?
Instead of becoming the WWE champion, you can become the bastard WWE champion over in Extreme Championship Wrestling.
Well, I guess it's better than the European title belt.
That sounds great.
The fruit of my loom.
I guess.
Fruit of my loom.
I guess I'll take it. I
don't know what that means.
All right.
Everything's the fruit of
That was pretty much
so.
the meeting between RVD and McMahon. Okay.
Which reminded me of the meeting that Vince McMahon had with Draws. If you've ever seen Behind the Mat, or Beyond the Mat, excuse me. Beyond the Mat, if you've ever seen it, and I hope you have.
Oh my God, he's going to puke.
Yes, he's gonna puke. Oh my God, he's gonna puke. Puke.
That movie.
That movie what?
That movie's awful.
Oh, okay. I thought you were bleeping yourself. Wow.
Bad cell phone reception. Can you
Well,
now?
that's right. Where that movie actually proves why New Jack should not sign with any company and should just retire. But whatever.
I killed 6 people. Well, okay,
A 7th on the way.
7th on the way.
Oh my.
This is about as bad as the cat.
Are you people
Someone gonna
going to buy ECW?
Pro.
I will buy One Night Stand 2 if I can in Orlando. I will try to get to a bar anywhere to see that. Because
I ordered it last year.
the last year, and I bought the DVD the minute it came out.
I have it. WWE sent it to me for free, and I got to tell you, I prefer my taped version.
Oh yeah, because of the Sandman's music. You know, you don't get the whole aura there, and because of a few other things that were edited out.
Yeah.
But let me put it this way to you about ECW. I will watch this product because last year at that pay-per-view, I will maintain, you know, I loved WrestleMania 21. That was the best pay-per-view of the year, was the ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view. I will maintain that it was, for both action, even though no match went over 10 minutes. Bet you didn't realize that.
That's probably one of the key
The closest was Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka.
Awesome match.
Whatever happened
They
to
don't,
Mike Awesome?
There's 2 names that they need to re-sign.
Yeah, whatever happened to Mike Awesome? Like, he was in WCW, then all of a sudden,
Japan.
dead.
You want to talk about becoming the bastard of something?
He went to
Mike
One Night-
Awesome is
Mike
just
Awesome, man. He was awesome.
the fat chick lover.
The only thing bad about that match
Thriller.
was Joey Styles spent the first half of the match just raving on the guy.
Yeah. It was unnecessary.
he dies.
Oh, Joel Gertner has signed a contract with the new WWE ECW version. The quintessential stud muffin.
Well.
Joel.
They call me Fred Flintstone because I make your bedrock.
Oh,
Gertner.
all right.
And that's the tamest one you could do.
That's the only one I memorized. Well, I do, but there was another one about
Joel.
juices.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Assign
But
yourself.
when they come to Earth, they like to ride my... Timing, friends, timing.
Timing,
That's
baby.
what it's all about.
That's what the comedy's all about, man.
Yeah. Do I get praise for doing a Joel Gertner imitation, too?
It was very hilarious.
I love that.
That was good. That was a good one.
I actually helped my friend a bunch of years back, maybe
I still
like
think
4.
Dark Venus is a lot better sexual innuendos than...
My friend was of this breed, and he's actually started to get into wrestling. He's wrestling independent shows, but he's way too small, in my opinion. However, he has been wrestling independent shows, and he started by jumping around on his trampoline and being stupid. Yeah, real intelligent. But anyway, he took it seriously enough. He wanted me to do announcing while I filmed one of his stupidity trampoline things, so I announced exactly as Joel Gertner. I wish I had a copy of the video. If I did, you would love it, I swear.
We'd laugh for like 20 minutes straight.
Yeah, and then I changed my name. I came up with a brand new character. If you ever see anyone on the internet posting as a man named Sean Edgar Xavier, that would be me. And the reason for that is because his initials, Sean Edgar Xavier.
Sex, oh my
Sex.
God.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, that's 2 clever points for
Unlike
Daniel right
James.
there.
James, what are your initials?
I'm not a Hebrew. I'm not a Hebrew, but my initials spell it. I'm a Jew.
I don't know
J-E-W.
why I think that's so funny.
James Edward Walsh III. And if you ask anybody I've gone on a date with, yes, I have inherited the money techniques.
2-3.
Yes.
I shall call you Eduardo.
We got about 3 minutes before I play the world exclusive
SoCal
King of Kings.
Oh, the King of Kings song.
No. That was bad.
You are very welcome. Dick.
That was the best Lemmy I've ever heard. Thank you again to the man on the line, Chris Ferguson, for getting us this copy.
How'd you get? Oh, I'm not even gonna ask. The internet is full.
How'd
of
you get
many-
it? He asked the FBI informer.
Yeah. How'd you get it, Chris? Come on, tell us. Tell us. You know where you live.
I refuse to answer that question on the grounds that the answer might incriminate me.
Very, very clever.
I keep looking over the door to see. I keep looking over the door to see if a little wheelchair rolls in to pull us off the air.
Oh.
You mean Tony?
Yeah, I think.
No, dude, Tony's chilling right now. Tony's
I think we
fine.
got to that level at this point.
Now let's.
Can I make a point about ECW though?
Yes,
Let's go ahead about ECW.
Thank you. Apparently, the latest rumor, and I don't know if WWE's confirmed it or not, is that they're going to cancel Velocity, and they're going to put ECW on in its place, which means that ECW will be filmed at the same venues as SmackDown.
Retarded.
Wow.
Mistake.
Well, it is a. You said they're only used to playing small venues. It is SmackDown. It will be a small venue.
Ooh.
Crowd size wise.
Well, ECW's always played well to smaller, more intimate atmospheres, and that is how you got that cultish ECW, to where their chest swells up and they turn red in the face, and they believe that ECW is a lifestyle.
One of the several things I believe Chris was chanting earlier in the room when he went completely insane.
I don't think you can make a crowd of 15, 20,000 people chant that in unison quite as well.
You can if the product sucks. King of the Ring 95.
Ooh.
Yeah, what were they chanting? ECW? Yeah, that's right.
Mabel.
By the way, I didn't go crazy in the chat rooms. I was already crazy.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
You kept spouting out random things, and I was like, what the hell is going on?
Well, I think I might have said this 2 weeks
ago. Have you been hearing my shows?
Yes, you should hear our new intro that I did last night. I think we're going to play it tomorrow, so check that out. It's going to be really interesting. But if I can finish my point,
Go for it.
If they're playing the same venues as SmackDown, one of two things will happen. Either a lot of those ECW cult members, and I do call them cult members even though I was a member of it, for the most part anyway, will show up and completely trash on anything WWE is doing.
Yep.
Or there's going to be a really confused crowd when the SmackDown tapings start, wondering, what the hell did I just watch?
Did I just pay for ECW
Either way,
or WWE?
Either way, it's not good for business.
They need to keep it in Philly.
By the way, they're not cult members. They're Kool-Aid drinking.
Wow.
Ouch.
That's pretty true.
Pretty true.
I said that last year to Francine, to her face. I said something along the lines of, I don't drink the Paul Heyman Kool-Aid, easy for me to say. And her response was, I like Kool-Aid. Cherry flavor is good.
All right, Chris, I'm going to have to let you go, man. But thank you for joining us this week. Join them over the summer. And I might phone in every
We'll do
once
a
in while.
programming down about the summer later on in the show.
Simon Diamonds this week, and we've got a new intro for the show, so...
Sweet.
But who did that intro?
James Walsh did a great job on it.
It's pretty stupid.
Egotistical.
Self-serving.
Vince McMahon.
I sat there for 4 hours last night trying to find the right clips for it. So, I want credit.
However, we should probably be taking a break soon.
We're not taking a break
Not
yet.
yet. No, okay.
Thank you for joining us, though, Chris. Gotta let you go.
Adios, Chris.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy, man.
Simon Diamond tomorrow. He's going to weigh in on ECW. He was there as well. He's not signing with WWE. Currently with TNA.
We're not quite taking a break yet. Let's talk real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speed out ECW.
Let me just backtrack in my head. May 23rd, as James blows bubbles into the microphone. Thank you, James.
Yeah.
May 23rd is the release date of WWE Reckless Intent, their newest album, in which I can categorically say that every song on it that I like, of the wrestlers' theme songs done by real bands, I already own because I found a way to get it off the internet. Randy Orton's theme song, of course, by Mercy Drive. The song is Burnin' My Light.
That's a cool song, and so is Batista's, which is also on there.
Saliva Unleashed. I have that already.
That's a great
Took me
song.
forever to find it, too.
Nothing compares to Ruthless Aggression.
They released Booyaka 619 in a new, crappier version.
A band that's so rhythmless. Band that's so rhythmless that a lot of people don't think they're rap rock, even though they're trying to be.
I suggest you find, or ask me, at some point for the original version of the song, Booyaka 619, Rey Mysterio, because I have the original reggaeton. If you actually do like it, it's actually pretty good. Yeah, but right now, a world exclusive. We are going to play the King of Kings,
the Ace of Spades,
by Motorhead,
Sorry, wrong song.
as James does a Lemmy impression.
Please don't sue us.
Yes.
Quick trivia question from the movie Airheads. Who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
Lemmy
Quick
is
question.
God.
Lemmy is God. God, you're all pathetic.
I've seen that movie.
Anyway, let's take it away right
Yeah, I said it, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
World exclusive, King of Kings, my Motorhead. You're on the Blaze, 1260 AM.
Hey, this is Batista, World Heavyweight Champion, and you're listening to Blaze, 1260 AM.
On your knees, the king of on your knees.
I think your mic was off.
On your knees for the king of kings.
Wow, and the King of Kings.
That was the that was the world exclusive. We have lost our brains.
We have half an hour left.
And we're going to
That's
take
Benny's
a
last
short commercial break.
And when we get back-
semester. When we get back,
SoCal Val.
SoCal Val.
She's beautiful, man.
Dude, she's hot.
She is beautiful.
I will be Googling her image shortly, but right now, Brendan
Why
and
does
I...
Googling something sound so damn naughty?
Because it's Google.
Because it's Google.
I'm going to Google it. It's because it also sounds like ogle. I'm going to ogle it. Right now, though, we're going to take a
And
short
ogle
break.
sounds like fondle.
And this is the last time. Set your tapes to record in case you didn't already pirate that song from the station, because the last time you will ever hear this Wrestling Epicenter promo on the station. Cool fact about this Epicenter promo,
It's been playing every single day because the other guy didn't do the new one we made about 2 months ago.
Yeah, we actually had had 2 promos made. The second one was with me talking about acting like Sam Kinison when I'm on the air.
He does.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Exactly. And it had
Our lovely production manager
had-
never put it on
it
there.
had Kurt Angle's music in the background and a quote from Beverly Hills Ninja.
Was
at the
really
beginning
funny.
of it. You're the big fat ninja everyone's talking about, aren't you?
I think we should take a quote for the next promo for next year for you guys from Ready to Rumble. Wrestling's fake.
Wrestling's not fake!
I think that'd be great for a
We
promo.
are all officially more mature for knowing that. Now,
That was a good movie, actually.
Other cool facts about this promo: it took under half an hour to make. It was made at the same time as the infamous Cronkite Village promo featuring Tiny Tim.
If you
having
guys
a
have heard the
wonderful
actual,
time.
I don't know, having a wonderful time.
Guess what? It's about to get played right after the Epicenter promo.
I hate you, man.
Why?
That was
Even
a
though
pain-
it's not even on
You know
the
how much of a
channel?
pain in the ass it was making that freaking the second promo?
Yes.
Things about I almost had to take a gun and put it to my head.
And the big thing I want to bring up about this one Wrestling Epicenter promo is that the opening few seconds, which you hear "Remain seated, please."
Pero de centavos, por favor.
Thank you, Brendan. Is from Disneyland's Matterhorn, because if anyone knows, if you've heard that before, you know where it's from. But I would figure I would tell you that because you know my Disney fascination, and that way you know who put the promo together. Since James talked about putting the 3-count wrestling intro together.
Yes.
And the intro for this show, the new one. But right now we're going to take a break right here on the
The
Blaze.
last time.
1260.
By the way, doing that Lemmy impression really hurts my throat.
That's
You
Hurst's
think?
voice, too.
This is the last time you hear these promos.
1260 AM.
Kennedy! Mikey! Johnny!
I don't know any of them are names! I don't care about the names.
The guy who's dating Mickey James!
That's Kenny.
Oh,
Kenny.
okay. Lucky son of a...
Actually, Kenny, you're the man, honestly. If you're ever listening to this thing, man, dude,
we love you.
I
on
bow
this
down,
show.
man. I am bowing down to the power of Kenny.
Bow down to the
king. He is the real king of kings.
Do you know why we bow down to him?
Because he's 19 and he has more game than anybody within this 10 square miles of Tempe.
That's why we bow down to him. For Mickey James, right there.
Yes.
That's the Mickey James theme, by the way.
By the way, has anybody gone to our forums?
Kenny, you're the man.
Go to the WWE Divas section on the WrestlingEpicenter.com forums. We have the racy, if you will, pictures of Miss Mickey James.
Ooh.
They're not racy, they're nudes.
They're more than that, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're candid photography.
Kind of photography, but right now,
Is your wife a goer? Does she go?
probably sometimes. But still, right
What
now,
are you doing for the environment?
Right now, we've got SoCal Val.
SoCal Val.
James, you conducted this interview.
How'd it go?
Me and not Ace of Spades, Chris Ferguson, pardon me. Why do I have Ace of Spades stuck in my head?
the Ace of Spades.
Go ahead.
Well,
SoCal Val, how was she?
I don't want to live forever.
You know what, James, your mic is gone. That's what you get.
Synopsis of this interview, it went good. She's really, really cute.
Your mic is gone, Brendan. James, your mic is back on.
Just like your...
Just as you hear. Anyway, so we've lost our brains. My mic is gone.
Chris Ferguson actually conducted this interview with me. He did a really good job with it. She's very spunky. She's very cute. She's very talented at talking, and I think you're going to start seeing her on TNA TV.
Talented at talking.
Well, she's actually comfortable behind the microphone.
Boy!
She's more...
Get on with it! The sound that makes me punch infants!
Brendan Brooks is throwing things!
Okay. Why don't we play the interview before we lose our minds completely?
Take it away, Virtual James.
Welcome back to the Blaze 1260 AM, as we are now being joined by the princess of pro wrestling, SoCal Val. Val, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so glad you used my full name.
Ah, really?
Yes.
Did you actually spend the money to copyright that?
No. It's something I'm looking into, though. I think it's something that I want to keep around, so.
The only reason I say that is because I get lectured every time I introduce Missy Hyatt.
Mm-hmm.
I have to call her the first lady of pro wrestling because she actually spent the money to copyright it.
I love Missy Hyatt, and if she did that, then that means I have to do it, because I think she's awesome, so.
Mm-hmm. And she's...
You'd also have to do it because the WWE is copywriting everything they can. So.
Yeah, copywriting is a big deal nowadays. I've been told to do it for a long time, copywriting SoCal Val and all that, but it's something I want to do, but I'm not sure. I'll have to figure it out and see what you have to do to get it done and all that, so.
It's not a cheap process.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Right.
That's why a lot of people just use the domain names as a means of registering things.
Right, yeah, I've had some problems with that too. Getting your name as a domain name is hard because people will see that you've used it even for a year or so, and then they'll just snatch it right up because they know that you're going to use it the next year, so it's difficult.
Well, let's start out with your eager or meager beginnings, as it's put on your shoot interview. How exactly did you get involved in such a crazy world of professional wrestling?
Basically, just by being a fan. I was living in California at the time. I had just moved there and met some people that were fans of wrestling also, and they took me to some tapings, or actually to some indie events that I went to. I think the first one I went to was either XPW or Millennium Pro Wrestling. It was one of those. But I just basically got noticed by the fans. They started posting on a message board, which is SoCalUncensored.com, and they just got a little buzz going, and the promoters kind of took notice and, wondered who that girl was that was walking around the shows, and just kind of came up to me and see if I wanted to do it, and I did.
Why wrestling? I mean, what exactly attracts you to the, I would say squared circle, but I don't know what to call the shape that the TNA ring is, so let's just say squared circle.
Ring. It was all of it. My sister and her friend Natalie had gotten into it. They were big Hardy Boys fans, big fans of The Rock, Jericho, people like that. I honestly was sort of opposed to it when they first started watching it. I'm really, really feminine, and I thought, okay, any kind of sport is just not up my alley at all. But then, honestly, what I started to notice were the storylines. Stephanie McMahon was involved with a lot of drama at the time, with Triple H and Kurt Angle and people like that, and I kind of saw it as a soap opera and started watching, and I just kind of wanted to see what would happen each week and see if, this person would get their revenge or if this person, So that kind of drew me in with the storylines, and I ended up appreciating the athleticism of it later on. But the first thing I noticed was Stephanie and just, the whole persona she had and all that. So that was definitely something that caught my eye.
Would you consider her one of your heroes in the business?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She is, she's who I've studied the most. My first show, they were coming up to me saying, you stand just like her and you act like her. And I was like, well, it's because I'm watching her tapes. I think she's really, really talented as far as mic skills go, as far as, attitude and just charisma and all that. I don't think you can teach. And so I've learned a lot from just watching her stuff, especially when she was heel, which she usually was. So she's definitely one of my heroes. I'd say that.
Is that what you prefer to be, the heel?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I enjoy both, but I really find that creatively there's more to do as a heel, and I think the crowd's reaction, their first reaction to a girl would be to cheer them because they are a girl and it's something different, and they're, you're dressing and, you're pretty scantily clad, but to make the crowd actually hate you, to make a whole crowd of males hate you, is sometimes can be difficult, but to me it's sort of a challenge, and I'm glad I can do that as a heel.
Well,
Are there any other influence you have?
I stepped all over him. Why don't you try that one more time? I'm sorry.
No problem.
I stepped all over him.
Yeah. Are there any other influences you have, or you know what I mean? Any other influences in the business for you? Or?
Right. I began watching as I did more and more shows. I was told by different wrestlers and promoters and things like that to start watching other girls. I had already been watching, a lot of Stephanie, a lot of Trish, and things like that. But they got me watching more Francine, Dawn Marie. Those were two names that popped up maybe in my first show because they had been talking about catfighting. You got to watch DCW tapes. Some of the guys recommended, I remember Jerry Lynn recommended Sherry Martel. Steve Carino was telling me about Baby Doll. I think Steve was one of the ones who told me about her too, but I had been watching Missy Hyatt. She was one of the ones that I found was just really close to what my character was, which was close to Stephanie McMahon. Just kind of a spoiled rich brat and real feminine, and I really was drawn to her because of how feminine she was, and how the whole snotty character was what I liked to watch. So she became one of my favorites as well, and of course Francine, Dawn Marie, all those girls are great too. I've gotten a chance to work with Francine lately, and she's just phenomenal. That's kind of a dream come true to work with someone like that who I've been watching on tapes, her with Shane Douglas, and she was awesome too. So I learned a lot from all of them and just kind of try to put my own twist on it.
We talk about Francine a lot. She's on our show every Wednesday, and we talk about some of the things that you guys do or have done in WEW. First of all, I have to ask you, and this is not related to you, but what exactly was she talking about? Because we just didn't have enough time to cover it. That she was playing a drunk recently at the WEW tapings?
Right. Her character sort of evolved into, when I first started with WEW, I was her assistant, and eventually I became the general manager for a pay-per-view where because, in the beginning I was her assistant, she was bossing me around, I was, playing a fan of hers, which is actually totally real life, because I was, and, going up to her and saying, I used to watch you all the time, ended up I took her position as GM, and she ended up being who I got to boss around, and, but her character sort of has evolved in WEW into this sort of, drunk. She's kind of just given up on WEW because there are all these different girls who aren't in wrestling running around wild, and, they're trying to forget about the wrestling aspect of it. But of course, as you'll later see, hopefully she'll straighten herself out from her drunk persona that she's been doing. So, but she does it well, so I'll give a hand to her for that.
I gotta say, I saw you when the first time that Francine showed up and you came up and you were like, I watched you when I was 12 or 13, and I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, how do I figure out how old I would be then? And you made me feel so old.
I hear that all the time, and my response is always, it's not that you're old, it's that I'm really young. Like, I was born in the year of Top Gun, okay, 1986. I just turned 20. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I was homeschooled and raised around adults, so I really don't feel my age, and this business, of course, and also I was around the music business a lot as my sisters are involved heavily in music and singing groups and all that. So being around entertainment that much is kind of, I think, you grow up fast.
Can you sing?
I can, but I don't really enjoy to. I don't, it's sort of intimidating for me. I'm fine to go out and do shows and, cut a promo and do all that, but as far as singing goes, I'm not a big fan of doing it in front of people for some reason.
If you weren't doing wrestling, what would you be doing?
Probably being very bored somewhere. Actually, no. I was, even as a kid, I was always entertaining myself, so I always had something going. I don't know, maybe something to do with fashion or acting. I enjoy acting. That's another reason why I like wrestling. Modeling. But I know that I wouldn't be happy doing anything else, really. If I never got into wrestling, it's something I'd always look back on, wish I had done, but I don't know. I don't really see myself doing anything else because this is kind of all I've ever wanted to really do. I had tried acting, and there was something missing from it. I really just didn't like it. I didn't like, the people. I didn't like I was living in L.A., I didn't like auditions. I didn't like anything to do with it. And then wrestling seemed kind of like I could branch out and do the acting thing, but be part of a family and be part of something that was better than just, some random casting call. And there's just so much more to wrestling than it is acting, so I think I'm where I should be.
Excellent.
Yeah, I've got a question. How did you come up with the name SoCal Val? Was that something someone gave you, or did you come up with it yourself?
No, it's my first show. They had been throwing names around, and I explained to them my character that I should be some, the way they described it was a gold digger, and I was saying, Stephanie McMahon type, real rich, spoiled, heiress type brat. and they were trying to come up with names that started with a V, and they were going to Victoria, and WWE already had a Victoria, and they said Vanessa. I didn't really like Vanessa. Landed on Valerie, and one of my friends that was there, he was laughing and pretty much just said, that's funny, you can be SoCal Val, and it actually stuck. The hilarious thing was I didn't intend on keeping it at all when I moved to Florida, and the first show I did there, I said, why don't you just use Miss Valerie or use Valerie or something? And they were like, no, we like it. It rhymes, it's catchy, it's cute, so they kept it, and it's stuck ever since.
You mentioned in Orlando. I guess that means that you appeared at Total Nonstop Action Wrestling.
That's right. I actually live in Orlando now. I've moved to California a couple times, but I'm based out of here now, and I'm loving it. I like LA. It's nice to visit, and I know it's in the name, obviously, so my name makes no sense anymore. But I really like Orlando.
Well, nothing south. Never mind. You can't think of anything in Florida that rhymes with Val, though.
No, and people are always like, you can be so flaw, Val. I'm like, that
doesn't sound
good. That just sounds silly. Come on. Ridiculous.
All right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing in TNA? We haven't really had a chance to see you in much of a character role just yet, but I do know that you're doing some spots on the Explosion shows.
That's right, and I'm glad you asked, because a lot of people have, the fans have been so sweet. They've been writing into the message boards and saying, we want SoCal Val on TV, we want to see her on Impact, we want to see, and I've tried to explain to them that if you get Explosion, that's where you can see me. Obviously I'm doing Ring Girl for live events right now, which is such a cool thing to be able to do. You get the best seat in the house, you're able to cheer for all the guys, and but as far as Explosion goes, I've been opening the show with Jeremy Borash, kind of a co-host type of thing, and also doing backstage interviews, and conducting the backstage interviews is really, really fun. So I really enjoyed that, and I think it's a way to kind of let me shine in the area that I think I'm, have been working well in, which is, mic skills and cutting promos and things like that. So it's given me a chance to really be myself and kind of let my character out a little bit, and in talking with all the wrestlers backstage. So it's been awesome, and I hope people have been enjoying it.
Excellent. Well, actually, you actually did some photo shoots for the TNA Knockouts. Tell us a little bit about taking those photo shoots, and is that something you're comfortable doing?
I absolutely love a photo shoot. I've been so excited to work in any kind of photo shoot, but to be able to work with Lee South is our photographer for TNA, and he is incredible. We have had so much fun just coming up with, 1 week I'll tell him, okay, I have a cowgirl theme, or okay, why don't we do this theme, or, different looks, and just trying to come up with different outfits. I make a lot of the different outfits I've been wearing lately, and I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I'm just glad the fans have been really responsive with it, and I hope to do more and keep coming up with ideas. If anyone has any ideas, be sure to email them to me, because I love taking pictures, and modeling obviously is a really big part of your job as a woman in wrestling, so I'm happy to be able to do that as well as participate in the shows.
How do you feel about people who say that maybe girls shouldn't be involved in wrestling? Maybe the types that are like, well, it's a man's sport, and girls are just there for TNA.
Well, the thing is, it honestly, in a lot of ways, it's a man's sport. I was just watching Jackie Gata the other day on the ESPN show that the TNA folks were on, and she had put it this way. She said, "You're really stepping into a man's world," and I have to agree with that. You're, you are a minority. You have to be seen as one of the boys, and I think there's a place for women in wrestling, because obviously, the audience is mainly male, and usually 18 to 24 or so, and they want to see a hot girl every once in a while. I just think that it kind of adds something different to it. Not that you would get bored watching match after match, but it just kind of breaks up. You have your guys matches, but it's something different to see the girls come in there, and I think it lightens the mood, and it's something that guys obviously aren't opposed to seeing girls in their little outfits, but we've proven now that there are girls who can wrestle just as good as some of the men, and I think that's only going to get better, because there are more and more girls getting into it, and they're getting younger as well, which is shocking. I did a photo shoot for Ring Divas, and I was one of the oldest there. We had girls that were 18, 19 years old coming in, and you just realize how young that everyone's getting into it. I thought, I'm always teased that I'm so young to be into it. I got into it at 15, but that's really not even that abnormal anymore, I don't think.
Wow.
Now, we had the opportunity to interview Tracy Brooks, who
hooray, Tracy.
Yeah, she put you over very strongly. That
yay!
Well, that you and she did a recent photo shoot as schoolgirls.
Right.
And just normally she's the one who's guiding people through the ring, and you're the one helping her through all the photo shoots.
Right.
What's she like working with?
She's phenomenal, and I don't, she laughs because the photo shoots we do, I'm usually, I'm so into how the pictures are going to look, and I'll be like, okay, let's pose this way, or let's do this, or let's have these outfits, or I'll call her before the shows and say, okay, do you have this outfit so that we can kind of coordinate? It's really cool. And the thing is, we learn from each other. Like, I think I've had some experience with photo shoots, so I'm able to kind of to kind of not tell her how to pose, but really that's kind of more my area. Whereas she's really been in there wrestling, and people do not realize how much she wrestles and how good she is. I've seen her at shows wrestling, and I mean it's cool to be able to help each other out in that way. So I'm just happy to work with her. She's such a sweet girl, and we have a lot of fun before and after the shows, and I really look up to her a lot.
How well are you versed in professional wrestling in terms of getting in there and wrestling?
I've had I'm going to put it this way, I've had a handful of matches. I've, did some training here and there, and I know that I love it, and it's a lot of fun, but it's not something that I really aspire to do right now as full-time, just because I am so passionate about managing, and, and even the stuff I'm doing now, the kind of like the on-air personality type stuff, that to me is a great way to contribute to the show if I can't be in there wrestling, because like I said, it's not something that I think is a strong point right now. I would love to train more. I've been looking into training more for wrestling, but to be seen as a wrestler, I don't really see myself doing that. I started watching because I admired the women like Stephanie, Miss Elizabeth, Missy Hyatt, people like that were personalities and managers, and they were helping their guy win, and that to me that's more up my alley right now. You never say that, but at this time, I just think that that's something I want to do more so than actually getting it in the ring and getting physical wrestling.
You talked a little bit about your website early on, and one of the things you talk about on your website is your legs, which, if I might say, are quite nice.
Things,
What'd you say?
I said, those old things,
You could be like Mary Hart and get insurance on them or something, I don't know. But
Betty Grable do that as well?
I think she did, yeah.
I have to look into that.
Yeah, we're going to have you spending a lot of money with this interview.
I know, you really are. What are you
Copywriting and then all that stuff, insurance and all.
I'll bill you, don't worry.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Alrighty, well, the question I have for you is another girl that's in wrestling is known for her legs, and that's Stacy Keibler. What do you think of her work, and do you think that you're maybe more devoted to it than she is?
I'll put it to you this way. I like her work a lot. I really enjoyed her stuff with the Dudley Boys. Just because she, at that time, I think, and when she first came to WWF, I think that was some of the time where I think everyone kind of has their peaks, here and there. I think her as a heel with the Dudleys and when she first debuted, I think that was my favorite time of her, just because she was so good at being so snotty and really had such a cute personality. And as far as the commitment to wrestling goes, I think I don't know her personally. I don't really know how she is, but there's certainly the difference between getting into wrestling, through a dance contest and getting into wrestling where, the way I did, which was making sure, seeing that that's what you wanted to do and making sure that it happened, talking to the right people, giving tapes. Not everyone gets into it that way. Some people kind of fall into it, and it ends up being a great career like hers has been. And some people just really, that's all they want to do. They don't really want to see wrestling as an avenue to get into anything else, because that's really not how I see it at all. I would never say, well, after wrestling I'll do this. I don't believe there's an after wrestling. The way I feel about wrestling now is if you're in it, period. There's not ever a getting out of it. There's no retirement. I mean, I'm sure at one point, you have to stop doing shows, but it's something I think that's in your blood, and it should be seen that way instead of some kind of avenue to go do so-called better things. To me, there is no better thing than wrestling.
Sorry.
He's flabbergasted.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just kidding him.
Yeah. I have a thing about listening to people talk, but that's well, talk about the TNA backstage. Who's the coolest person to hang out with?
The coolest person? I don't know. I have all my buddies and all my protectors here and there, and it varies. That's the cool thing about it is there's not really one little group of people that I stick to. I call all of them my friends. There are times when I'll be out with AJ and David Young and be hanging out, or one day we'll be hanging out with Tracy and Gail, or everyone kind of hangs out together, and there's not really a cliquey atmosphere at all. So I don't know. The tag teams are nice. I don't know. They're all very nice people.
Well, you started so young in the business, and of course we all know that men like their women, and especially in wrestling. Yes, we've heard all the stories about how the guys are basically,
The word on the street, huh?
Yeah, we've heard of stories. So, as a young lady, especially in the business, did anybody ever try to pick you up, or anything like that?
Oh, never. It's never happened.
Yeah, right.
Not once. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, frequently, all the time, pretty much, yes. To be honest.
How do you combat that?
Well, you know what's horrible is before I was 18, I could say, you know what, I'm really young, and no thanks, but thanks a lot. You're very nice, and I enjoy your matches, but please leave me alone. But after I turned 18, people sort of stopped kidding, you know what I mean? And it was more of a hey kind of thing. And I don't know. I'm not a fan at all of anyone hitting on me, period. I don't like it. I don't want to say I get offended, but it gets old fast. And but honestly, at the point now, people have realized that they've learned to respect me, and the respect that I'm not there for that reason. Because the sad thing is, because so many girls that are involved in wrestling and that are trying to get into it because they want to be around the guys, and that's just not something I'm interested in. I was never even before wrestling, I was never big on dating, or I don't like anything like that. I don't know. I just like to shop and watch wrestling, and that's pretty much it. Guy's a guy. You know what? I don't even really care. I've never really cared. So I don't know. Maybe I'm too young to really. I don't know. Not something that interests me at all.
Obviously, being as young as you are, do you think that there's going to come a time when maybe you're going to think, well, maybe I want a family. Maybe I don't want to be on the road all the time?
I highly doubt it, just because I've never really been a kid person.
Ah.
But I mean, you know what? But again, never say never. I mean, that could happen. But as I see right now, I don't see that happening at all. I see myself being really, really satisfied with my work, and it's only going to get better from here. I'm only going to become more and more busy with it. So I think that I don't think that would really be an option. Like I said, maybe someday, but I don't see myself leaving it for that reason, really. But like I said, I mean, people get older and they want a family, and I don't know. I don't see that happening, though.
Well, we talked a lot about the WWE, and one of the things that almost everybody, whether they admit it or not, has in them that's in this business is they want to work under that banner. Do you want to work under the WWE banner?
I've worked for them twice.
Yes, you did, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, in two different, very different projects. I mean, I did a backstage promo with Luther Reigns and Spike Dudley, Big Show, all those people.
I remember that, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I do too. It was a lot of fun, and I was treated very, very well. Stephanie McMahon was actually the one who gave me that opportunity, which is quite ironic considering she's, my idea of, of a hero, or however you want to put it. The second time was I was approached by John Cena to do a commercial with him that ended up, it was a really cute commercial. It's for one of his shirts for the merchandise site and for WWE auction, and that was a lot of fun. So I definitely know that, it's a nice atmosphere to work. I was treated very, very well. The little time that I did have, to actually do something for them. But I don't know. I mean, I'm happy where I am now. I'm a big TNA fan. I love what we're doing, and I'm just enthralled with it right now, and I'm just thrilled to be able to do anything with TNA. So that's where I want to be.
So you're happy where you are right now?
Absolutely. I am very, very, very happy. I'm totally excited to go to the shows. It's funny. I actually end up waking up early still for shows, even indie shows, but especially TNA. I can't. I'm so excited at times that I wake up early, and too early before I go into the building, and I just have to calm down because I'm so excited, and it just gets better and better every time. And I'm happy to be doing the explosion stuff now, and for the fans to be able to see me doing my thing. So I'm happy.
Well, if you ever get the opportunity to be on television managing someone, you had your choice, who would it be?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I have pretty much four main favorite wrestlers, which are WWE-wise, I'd say Triple H and Shawn Michaels. TNA, I'd say I'm a big Christopher Daniels fan as well as AJ Styles. But honestly, I can't say one person that I would like to manage. I honestly would just like to manage someone that could benefit from having a manager because, not all wrestlers need one. Not all wrestlers know how to work with one also. So I would just be happy to venture out and do any kind of storyline with anyone that would need, maybe need a push, maybe someone that would need a little bit of promotion. That's my job as a manager, to promote them and to, get them closer to that belt that they're wanting. And that's something I would like to do for anyone that could use it and that could respect and appreciate my services, pretty much.
That's a very political answer.
Oh, well, thank you.
You manage I'm just kidding. Don't want to put anybody down. I love that, but...
Oh, my God, did I sound smart? Yay!
You are so spunky. That's kind of cute.
Also got that California thing going.
Yeah, that's SoCal Val.
I don't know what you're talking about, okay? Like, totally. California what? Oh, my God.
Was there ever a time you actually talked like that?
No, and what's funny is, I don't know if anyone would believe it, but I lived in Texas and North Carolina, and I had a southern accent as a child. I mean, not for that long because I did move around a lot, but I had a bit of a southern accent, so none of that Valley Girl stuff, really. I mean, I don't think I ever really picked up on it too much. Maybe a little bit, but not too much.
No, you have it down. I live in California, and you have it down.
Sweet.
Well, I've got a rather personal question, and you can shut me up at any time. What is your natural haircut? What is your natural haircut?
It's none of your business. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually a brunette. I've always had like maybe medium to dark brown, which is strange because I have light eyes, and no one in my family has light eyes. But it's always been pretty much like a brown, like medium brown, I'd say.
Okay. So isn't that a string of questions, or was that just one question?
That was just the one question.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought you had more questions coming to her. All right, well, I think this is about it, but we really can't thank you enough. This was a very interesting interview, and for those who don't know a lot about you, what would you like them to look forward to in your future?
I would just tell them to continue watching TNA, and we're on Spike TV Thursdays now, so check into that. Check into Explosion if you get it in your area, and drop me an email of what you'd like to see. Maybe maybe some upcoming photo shoots with the other knockouts, possibly. I'd love to do that. But just keep watching the product and supporting wrestling in general, pretty much.
What is the website address?
The website for TNA or for my...
For your site.
My site is www.socalval.net, and TNA is TNAwrestling.com. You can check out all the, all the schedule dates for the upcoming live shows, for the shows on Spike and on Explosion. So check that out. Check out the shop and, the pictures of all of us girls. So
Yeah, of course we will do that.
good deal.
Yeah, but before we do let you go, one last question. This is about the DVD that they shot, I believe, about the knockouts. First of all, are you going to be a big part of that?
I don't believe so, but I'm not positive. I would love to be, but I don't really. I think right now it's Gail, Jackie, and Tracy.
Aww.
It's going to be a really great DVD. Those girls are all super, super hot. They've got not only that, but they've got such great personalities, each and every one of them individually. So, check that out when it comes out. I think it's coming out in the summer. I interviewed Tracy and Gail, and they both said it was coming out in the summertime. So, give it a look, and let them know what you think.
And one last question is about John Cena, since you mentioned him earlier.
Right.
Obviously, he approached you, so you're not going to be, he sucks, blah, 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 but he actually helped you get an opportunity up there. But are you surprised at the amount of backlash that's coming from the fans towards him?
Somewhat, yes, I have to say. But then again, fans are fickle, but honestly, I like that in a way because it really challenges you. It really makes you want to mix it up. You can never be sure. You want to think, oh, on this definitely, you're never sure. The fans are the ones who decide, and that's ultimately the right thing to do. The fans are the ones who will tell you what they want to see or what they don't want to see. So I'm glad they're as vocal as they are, and I think he can handle it either way. If they're loving him or they're hating him, he's still doing a great job.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of his work. I never was, and I'm not one of the bandwagon jumpers.
Prototype? Come on, Prototype.
The Prototype I didn't mind so much. It's the character he plays now. I just don't like it. I never did. I never was one of bandwagon jumper. I never got on that, and now that they all turned on him, I'm not. That said, I did feel bad for him at WrestleMania because when he won the match, he did not look like a winner. because of the crowd reaction. He looked like his world was over, and I felt bad for the guy.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't know his emotions at that time, but I think he has enough skills to, you know, to back up whatever the fans are giving him. He's obviously doing well, because when they're hating him, he still knows how to react to it. When they're loving him, he knows how to react to it. I think he can really hold his own, you know, in his promos and things like that. So, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm not sure. Like I said, the fans are fickle, but I'm glad they are. I hope they keep challenging him and challenging all of us.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It was really, really fun. Thanks, guys.
It was great to have you on.
We're talking about Alice Cooper right now because we think he's the man. But that was SoCal Val.
Was it done? Because I was talking about how Alice Cooper talked about the guy from Rose Tattoo.
I just realized I looked at the posts on the board, and by the way, that was not Brendan who said Kenny 3 times. That was me.
That was him, yeah. See, Brendan, and myself, and Benya get confused constantly because of the B thing.
Cassie made a comment.
By the way, go to bed.
What?
Cassie, that is.
Yeah.
She's in England. It's 8 hours later there.
Jesus Christ, hon.
Cassie made a comment to Patrick about being scared that he knew all of their names. I'm going to one-up him right now and do it
3, 2,
Everyone,
1.
I want you to know this. You can check your facts. The actual theme song in the correct order that they say their names. Kenny, Johnny, Mitch, Nikki, Mikey, and we are the Spirit Squad. That is the correct order. Go ahead and check it, because I know I'm right.
Wow.
I feel a little.
You know, you're
dirty.
not wearing your luchador mask.
Yeah, it's itchy.
It's itchy.
It's itchy, and it makes me feel manly, or less man. What?
Well, depending on what you're into, man. Whatever.
You hear this? That is the sound of me throwing my agenda.
His rundown is gone. In the radio industry, the rundown is the Bible. And James just kicked me in the leg.
There goes your butt. Where's your God now? Where's your Messiah now?
Are you talking to Bill Watts?
Or Vince McMahon? Or
I don't
the crowd?
You bring up Bill Watts one more time, and James, I'm going to take you up, and I'm just going to punch you straight in the balls.
And don't forget the Joker.
My voice hurts from doing that, so I'm going to do it 20 more times tonight. You poor, poor man.
Oh, man.
It gets a laugh out of Brendan.
Dude, I'm like delirious right now. Come on. Here's what you don't do. Do not try to be the George Mason of a beer pong tournament. It only leads to a bad hangover. That's why I'm so tired. And God, you know, I can never stop loving hearing these theme songs.
Shut up!
Because this is where it gets really cool. Hold on, listen. Yeah.
I'm thinking for my final show, that might be our... No, that's not going to be our... I thought about making that our 3-minute warning because it's 2.5 minutes long, but I really think that would...
No, it's Hassan. It has its own special category.
That would be overly offensive. I know what our final theme song is tonight.
Can we guess it?
Go ahead.
Legion of Doom? LOD 2000?
LOD 2000.
How about the Z-Man? I want the Z-Man.
How about no?
Okay.
Trying to think of another good one, but still... you really do have one more thing to discuss.
I want Andre the Giant's theme.
Didn't he have one?
That's the joke.
Yeah, I know.
You're stupid. And you're wearing a Hulkamania shirt.
Yes, I am.
You're really
Hulk Hogan mark on the left.
Yep.
Ric Flair mark in the penalty box.
Oh, that's
the guy who doesn't give a rat's ass.
Wow, it's just
Right
like real life. Ric Flair does all the work and Hogan gets the glory.
Oh, man, I think there would be like 20 people on the board right now who would disagree with
I'm
you
waiting
on
for the
that.
board noise again that I keep hearing.
Hold on, I'm waiting. It's actually about like 20 seconds slower than what we received the feed as.
We got to take a break before we go to our final topic.
Which is a TNA sacrifice.
We got to take our final break of the semester. We'll be right back, though, with more here on the Wrestling Epicenter, only
on the Blaze, 1260 AM.
Chest has magical powers. This is, of course, the popular Ashley's theme.
Finally. Welcome back to the Wrestling Epicenter on the Blaze.
Did I ruin your
1260 AM.
thunder?
I was like,
thunder?
finally. No, let's not do that. I like the Bobby Lashley part better. That was some random crappy.
Somehow, when he moves his hands from his chest, fire goes off.
He does. He's much more powerful than Chuck Norris' drunk.
Just like the WWE fans' arguments. Well, WWE's more believable than WCW. Oh, yeah?
It's wrestling!
When was the last time you saw a human being shoot lightning from his fingertip?
Chuck Norris.
What?
Brendan hates Chuck Norris jokes, so...
Ooh!
Sorry.
Ooh!
I said the F word.
We're dead.
No, we're not dead. We're not dead. It's Safe Harbor Zone.
No, it's not.
I know it's not. We're far
Who
off
do you
Safe
keep
Harbor.
looking at? Is there somebody in the production booth?
There's no one in the production booth. No one.
Who's in there?
Just the monkey in my closet.
He didn't always used to be evil.
Ooh.
He wasn't always evil. Oh, boy. We are dead.
We're told.
Let's talk final subject tonight.
The good news
Before
is
we get-
nobody's listening anymore.
When we get to the 3-minute warning, we will talk about the big fight that I still haven't mentioned, the names of the people involved. But if you don't know, I'm sorry.
How about we go to the TNA segment?
Let's go TNA.
3
minutes for...
Did you ever watch Lockdown yet, by the way?
Yes, I did most of it, not all of it.
What'd you think of it?
I was impressed. Guys worked their asses off out there.
Thank you.
Indeed. Now to preview the TNA
TNA still
sacrifice.
sucks.
Jushin Thunder Liger versus Petey Williams.
Jushin.
I was like, Jushin? God, I can't
Jushin
pronounce-
Thunder Liger, who has been teased to be coming to TNA for how long?
He had one match way back when. Unfortunately, his travel plans always seem to conflict with when they're actually doing their pay-per-views.
Jushin.
Takes forever
This is
to
for
get there.
the World X Cup Champion competition.
Last time he was there, he lost to Samoa Joe by submission, and now they brought him back. He was in the first episode of Nitro. He was in the first match. Pop quiz, Ben. Who did he face in the first match of Nitro?
I didn't watch Nitro.
Flying Brian!
Probably a very good match, too.
It was a very good match.
If it's Brian Pillman in his glory days, 93 to 95, he was awesome.
Probably awesome.
And I should have guessed that because that's the only guy I can think of him fighting is Jushin Thunder Liger. Right now, though, that match could be good if Jushin Thunder Liger wasn't old by now.
He's probably like, what, 45 probably?
Damn.
Like that.
There's only one guy I know of who can still put on a show up to the caliber that he was at when he was, and I mean the real caliber of working when he was young and now he's old. And it's not Ric Flair,
I thought
and
you were gonna
it's
say that.
not Hulk Hogan.
Definitely not Hogan.
You know what his name is? And it's not Shawn Michaels. It's none of those guys.
Shawn Michaels isn't that old.
I'm going to throw out a name. That
He's like 15 years younger than both.
Go ahead and
people you
guess
just
what
mentioned.
name I'm going to say.
Undertaker.
Wrong.
Let's see. What else can we think about right now?
You're not going to get it.
I'm probably not going to get it now.
James might not. James isn't even going to think that this is what I'm going to say.
Nick Bockwinkel?
No.
Vern Gagne.
Keiji Muto, better known to people as the Great Muta.
Yeah.
Great
Muta
Muta.
still puts on one hell of a show.
He's a little slower than he used to be, though.
Yeah, but I mean, he's still. You go to Japan where they still appreciate wrestling for wrestling, and even the UK where they still appreciate wrestling for wrestling. Cassie, go to sleep.
Cassie, go to sleep.
Go to sleep. You go to these countries and they still worship these people for
Kind of
putting
like
on-
rock and roll. They still worship rock and roll a lot over there, too.
I can't.
That's
see-
because they have taste.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you explain this to me? I know you've got the Sacrifice preview written here. There's
Yeah.
4 matches scheduled for this
It's going
pay-per-view.
to be kind of short, right?
Well, they had 3 weeks to promote it.
There's 4 matches. WWE does that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, they had 3 weeks and 3 hours to promote it, so they really don't have much to promote it with. They're going to have more matches than that, obviously.
They'll just have like in ones that.
Don't
are
forget, this is
6
also
minutes.
posted on TNA's official website before tomorrow night's Impact airs, so maybe more matches will be made tomorrow. I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah. So
America's Most Wanted, AMW, will be defending the NWA World Tag Team Championships as I slam a chair into the ground against AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels because it's a trend in wrestling. You're bitter enemies for a huge amount of time, but eventually you will
become
be friends
tag team partners.
and tag team partners. That's one of the greatest wrestling trends ever, to be completely honest.
Good friends, better enemies.
Keep your friends close,
And
but your
there-
enemies
there's
closer.
Somebody said it on the computer, I'm sure.
Sting and question mark versus Jeff Jarrett and Scott Steiner.
Spoiler alert.
3, 2, 1.
Go for it, James. What's the spoiler?
If I'm accurate, Sting's partner will be Samoa Joe.
And spoiler over.
Spoiler over.
This seems awfully tone and tame, and I'll tell you why. Because I liken this the minute James said that to me, and I said, "Oh, Samoa Joe and Scott Steiner are in the same match." Well, can you say Triple H and Scott Steiner?
That said, I watched a great pay-per-view, and I didn't order it. I probably should have. It was called 605 Reunion, and it was a reunion of all the old WCW and NWA guys. And Steiner worked Buff Bagwell in the main event, and they had a pretty good match.
Buff Bagwell had a time period where he could actually perform, though. I still think the Buff Blockbuster is a really cool move.
Yeah, it is. And he had a really good on-screen persona in a way.
I've lost
Often
a
still the
lot
stuff.
of Scott Steiner just kind of freaks me out. to be
Well, Buff
completely
got
honest.
lazy at the end of WCW, but so did a lot of guys.
You mean they kind of saw then there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Might as well party while I still can.
Next match
Thank you,
on the
Time Warner.
card. After we didn't talk much about AMW because I hate them. Because I hate AMW.
Oh, come on.
The best tag team in wrestling is M&M, not AMW. And you know why? Because M&M works as a tag. They're the real tag team. They're the stereotypical tag team of the old generation. And they're still, And there's
I think AMW is.
Short reckoning.
I think AMW was, for a time, the 2000s version of the Rock and Roll Express.
I could see that. I'll give you that.
And now they're kind of the heel version of that, but not one of them didn't join the York Foundation, though.
The York Foundation with
Richard Morton.
And Tommy Rich, as I recall, as well.
Thomas Rich.
And, of course...
MK Wall Street.
It was Michael Wall Street and VK Wall Street. Which one are we talking about?
I don't know.
He was the same guy. It's Mike Rotundo. Rotundo, not Captain Mike Rotunda.
Yes.
As Lord.
As formerly.
WCW did a lot of things wrong, and that's going back to the Bill Watts age yet again.
Before Ben decides to kill Bill Watts again.
I'm not going to.
The main card.
Christian Cage versus Abyss with Father James Mitchell. And what the hell is Full Metal Mayhem?
It's a TLC match, but they can't use the letters TLC.
So they're going to call it Full Metal Mayhem? What are the tables made of?
Metal? Wood?
You kind of lost me on that one. Steel chair?
It's going to be like the teacher's desk.
Oh,
Ouch.
God.
Ouch.
That.
I was hoping to see
really
a
painful.
rock, paper, scissors match. But with real rocks and real scissors.
TNA, you say TNA only had 3 weeks to promote this pay-per-view, but they're not doing a whole lot different from what they've already been doing.
Maybe less is more. That's all
I'm a bit bugged by that because one of the things that separates TNA from WWE is that it's not the same match every month on the same card, and they've managed to really avoid doing that. This time though, it seems like the same card is Lockdown.
It's different. The only one that seems to be the same is the main event, and that's because they're trying to make this feud go a few months. I think they're kind of stalling because I think they want to go with. They're trying to keep Jarrett out of the picture. I think first of all.
I have to disagree with you.
Why's that?
I have to disagree. Christian versus Abyss was on last month's card. Sting versus Jarrett and Steiner was technically on last month's card. AMW versus AJ Styles was on last month's card. The only one that wasn't was Liger and Petey Williams. And that's just what they've announced so far. You never know. They could do something with. Let me think. What do they have left then to pick through? The James Gang. Wow.
Not much of a tag team division there, huh?
Well, I would assume that the James Gang is about.
They used to
like
have a good tag team
3D,
division.
You know.
Yeah.
That's going to be throwing matches together. I'm a little disappointed in this. I won't order this. Not like I was going to order it anyway. I won't even be around to order it because I fly out Sunday. So let's. We've got. Guess what?
What?
We have 4 minutes left, so we've got a minute until we get to the 3-minute warning. Let's really quickly run down in 2 weeks here in Arizona.
Does anybody come after us?
No.
No. We could technically go over, but
Let's talk about Airheads. Remember that when they just locked themselves in and they
locked themselves in? They're just like, But what was it?
And they cursed on radio like Brendan did.
It was like they had hot sauce and water guns, right?
Yep.
Hey, we were talking about earlier, hot sauce and
they had that hot chick who was banging the dumb guy.
Yeah. See, that's the problem.
See, that'd be me right there.
I'm only half the dumb guy, and I still can't get the hot chick.
You look like him. You look
The
like
dumb
Adam
guy?
Sandler in that movie, Pip.
Was he a drummer?
Yes.
Okay, he was the drummer.
Anyway, Judgment Day is here in 2 weeks, and I got to be honest, I'm totally not looking forward to it. I'm glad I won't be here for it, but I wouldn't buy.
What the hell was that?
Judgment Day.
I honestly don't know if I'm looking forward to this. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, you have 3 minutes. Brendan, you're a cheater.
I didn't cheat, I guess, man. I swear to God, I guess. Bullshit. I said bullshit.
He cut himself.
Good. But no, I guessed this one properly.
You guessed LOD 2000. I made you guess, but anyway.
I'll take LOD any style.
Real quickly, Judgment Day has 4 matches announced. You know what one I'm looking forward to?
Huh.
Spanky and Paul London against Eminem. If they gave that match any more than 10 minutes, it would be a wonderful match because they've really played that one up over about 2 months now. That could be an entertaining
They
contest.
did a proper push for the match.
Yeah.
Instead of just, hey, let's toss one guy, we have a match. Good.
Other 3 matches scheduled for that pay-per-view right now. The King of the Ring final, which is Booker T versus either Fit Finlay or Bobby Lashley. I got Lashley going to the finals, and I got them as a side note making Finlay versus Chris Benoit, because that's a good match.
Yeah. That's a good old classic match.
And then they've got the Great Khali, who is on par with Nathan Jones, Kurrigan the Interrogator, and a few other big guys like Giant Gonzalez.
Who are just crazy to look at.
Well, actually, he's not that bad, but the Great Khali is on par with some of the worst large wrestlers right now.
He killed the guy in the ring once.
So he'll do a bad movie like, what was it, He was in Troy, yeah. Nathan
Or
Jones.
it could be like when he did Thunder at Paradise, the Giant Gonzalez, and he threw barrels at Hogan. And all I could think of was Donkey Kong.
And Great Khali was actually in the new Longest Yard, to be fair.
Was he?
Yes.
He was the big guy, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
All right.
opposed to the small guy.
That was a pretty good movie, actually.
Fighting against the Undertaker. Main event is Rey Mysterio versus JBL. Who cares?
That's kind of an odd pairing. That's a real odd pairing.
Well, they have no heels left.
Yeah,
They have no one left on SmackDown.
Everybody's either suspended or should be, because that's where
Or
we go
dead.
to our final topic of the night.
Who should be suspended?
No, the fight.
Booker T and Batista in a real fight during the taping of a SummerSlam commercial. Go to WWE.com to see some pictures. Booker
Throwing
T's
some
left
bows.
eye is like the 6th round boxer. Batista's got cuts on him, and you know it's a real fight when the guy who releases the press release is none other than John Gabrick, a.k.a. Big Gabrick from Tough Enough. So you know that's bad.
Wow.
That is some big
What was
stuff.
this? 6 guys had to break up the fight?
It took half a dozen guys, including Fit Finley.
Wow.
Damn. And I always put Finley in that because, hey, he's strong.
Yeah. And he's Irish.
And he likes to fight. And he wasn't fighting.
And he's not bloody well.
And his name is Finley.
We love that man.
I know. Finley is the man.
Now, let me ask you, should these guys can't be reprimanded. James brought up that they were dead. I forgot to mention I'm sporting tonight an I'm Your Poppy Eddie Guerrero shirt.
Yes, he is.
And James is sporting Hulkamania.
And I'm not sporting anything but a D-backs jersey, but it doesn't matter.
And a
D-backs
foul mouth.
And a foul, dirty mouth.
Well,
What is
ladies
your
and
mother?
gentlemen, the 3-minute warning is expiring. Right there, as you heard, the music has
James,
died.
don't start crying yet, because you and I have a summer together.
James, if you smack your gum one more time, I swear.
Didn't your mother say never to smack your food?
You're going down.
Anyways, couldn't for past Memorial Day, which is 25th of this month, the wrestling episode will be returning.
Cut my damn mic.
He cut James's mic. Wow, this guy.
Your mic's back on
Oh,
now.
thank you.
Clearly, as James is being cut off, we'll be back on the air after the 25th of May. Usual Wednesday nights. It'll be set. It'll be.
Is that
only
how long
7
we're
days.
off?
Yeah, till after Memorial Day, we're back on.
You guys, it's been fun.
Really, it's going to be that long?
Yeah, it'll be a while.
I should probably contact Miss Shannon Ward, also known as Daphne, and say, hey, can you wait for us?
Can you wait for us a little bit? Yeah,
Because she was going to call us next week.
Damn it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're out
Maybe
of time.
Maybe I'll break in.
We're out of time.
That's sad.
Hey, Shannon.
And
I can't take you guys home because guess what?
How
No,
you doing?
no peanut gallery, no teal.
This
Peanut gallery's
is
done.
it for the semester here.
Actually, technically, we're the last show on the Blaze for this semester to be on the air.
And
so.
this is probably the last time you will hear.
We're the
this.
#1 show. We were since we got on the air back in March of 2005. Still can't get an award, but thanks, guys.
Yeah,
That's my shooting right
And
there.
I would like you guys to tune
Still
in
number
over
one.
the summer, and please tune in next semester as we reapply to try and get a new show, untitled. It will not be Wrestling Epicenter after that, but it will be Brendan and I still on. I know you guys love James, but hey, it's a wrestling show. Please stay with us.
We'll be there, man.
That was the board again.
I think we just got booted from the board. I think that might be the signal saying goodbye.
That's
so
it. So
That
for
was Ben
everybody-
thinking about Melina.
Ooh.
For Brendan Brooks, James Walsh, James.
If I could say one thing real quick.
Go.
Thank you, both you guys, for filling in for the past 6 months or so. It was a hard situation to step into, and I do appreciate you guys coming in. And that's why I do have every intention of letting you guys continue to do the show. I do appreciate that somebody actually wants to continue doing the show. And once again, thank you guys for filling in. I really do appreciate it.
I had a blast.
All right, we will see you guys over the summer. At least they will. I will try to be on over the summer at least once. For Brendan Brooks, for James Walsh, I am Ben Benyon saying, you stay classy, wrestling fans. Have a great evening.